Okay. And then I don't know whether I don't see the whole military record, but phew.
Can I double dutch in here?
Come on with it.
Um, so I want to speak to what Wani said because in the development of my app, I was playing around with the mapping and stuff, and I had imported that dude that just died from Tougaloo who did the Sundown towns. He built a database, and I had overlaid the um the business mappings, what were supposed to be black owned businesses, with sundown activity in LA. And if you guys have seen that, and I can jumbotron it if you guys are interested, but if you see it, it's fucking creepy. And it really exposes that sundown activity always followed black business, right? Because destroying Black Wall Street was always the plan. So I wanted to squeeze that in, and then one other thing was one. Yesterday I sent you some links, and it sounded like you were talking about it right when I came in the room.
Mhm.
So you did get to watch that video?
I didn't watch the whole thing at all, no.
So
But
you didn't get to the part with that sister that I mentioned then yet?
no, no, no. I didn't get to
Okay.
watch it. I've been
She
writing something.
Yeah, I'll say this: she is the only one that's charismatic, that speaks charismatically in that video, and that's the reason why I dropped you a second link, which is to her whole contact information in LA, and I hope that at some point, because I'm pretty sure she's not interested in being in this fight anymore, and I don't know why, but I had been trying to contact her and leaving messages that that we need her in this conversation.
Just to speak for us, you mean, right?
Well, but more than that, the tactical of it, right? Like she's a
Mm-hmm.
brilliant woman, and she could at
Mm-hmm.
least provide us insight on what direction. So I hope that you look at the video, and then maybe you could talk to Tariq or somebody and get him to sit down with her, and just because we need her in this fight. So
Okay, I will look. I just saw the first guy. I was trying to find out if it was something that I was going to send the professor, but the room was starting, so I'm going to check it out in the next couple of days over the weekend. Thank you for sending it to me because I had no idea that was happening.
Yeah. Quickly. Then we're gonna go to Kush. There's Dr. Anderson also has another obstacle. He says obstacles to our success. He says the absence of group economics. That's kind of what Kush was talking about earlier. He says a practice of perceiving and acting on issues and events from a social rather than capitalistic perspective is a major impediment to black empowerment. An old adage says, when in Rome, do as the Romans do. Blacks are in America, and America is a capitalist nation. Thus, blacks will have to adopt the American capitalistic approach if they are to build their economic strength. The founding fathers intended this nation to be an experiment in capitalism. He also says blacks spend 90%, 95, I'm sorry, 95% of their annual disposable income with businesses located within white communities. Of the 5% that remains within black communities, another 3% is spent with non-black owned businesses like Wani was talking about earlier and my auntie. It is difficult, if not impossible, for black communities to maintain a reasonable quality of life and be economically competitive when only 2% of their annual disposable income remains within the black communities. So not only are we being systematically denied, we're systematically denying each other, which goes back to Dr. Francis Cresswell's and self hate issues.
Because
It's got to change,
I
y'all.
don't, I haven't been in a neighborhood in years. I don't even know what that is. And I don't see any, like a regular neighborhood where you know the people. They don't have those. People just, all of us just keep moving. It doesn't even matter what your background is. But I wanted to say that another thing that we need to really address is the fact that the people that are supposed to be helping us are not. And so they're just controlled opposition, as we saw. And they were very sloppy about it this time, and everybody got to see it. That's something that, I mean, we've been expecting these people to do right by us, to represent us. They need to be audited. Just audit them. And I promise you, you'll see that Everything that we have set up for ourselves has been infiltrated by foreigners and infiltrated by their attitude that you just saw. And you just saw the attitude. And now they're running around talking about don't threaten us. And yeah, that's the least of it. And we didn't know. And no, I didn't block him on the I didn't block him from putting the bill up. These people should be scared to walk. Who's next? Kush?
Oh yeah, listen. I'm gonna say this right. Dr. Claude Anderson threw out the 5 steps of having a strong economic floor. And every time that I hold a fucking space, I'm about to start playing that shit over and over and over. I don't go out there and go do the interviews just to go do the fucking interviews because I have nothing else to do with my time. There's a reason why I be like, hey, make sure you guys retweet this black owned business. You know why? Because there's already one of the biggest issues that black owned businesses are having a fucking advertisement. Have you ever stopped to think that for a moment's notice that when you are a black American entrepreneur and you people can't find you because people don't know where you're at, it becomes a really large issue. It's an issue for me at least. And that's why I started doing the interviews. So Wani, I know you're a vegan, right? You know you be getting your setting spray blessed by a sea turtle in a month. Um, up there in the jumbotron. That's a Black American owned business, and he's a vegan himself, and he makes vegan food. He even provides a service
Crazy.
for. Listen, he'll be like, hey, listen, I'll take you to the grocery store and shop with you, so you can have a better eating habit and live a better healthy lifestyle. Like when I tell you that man is so dope. That man is dope. I had his food. I don't really eat vegan food like that, right? But nigga, I had a carrot soaked in sea moss. That shit was fire with the chili on there with that bit. Nigga got that. Oh, yeah, I was gonna like doo-doo-doo at the end of the day. But there's a reason why I like to have the conversations with the entrepreneurs because it's giving not only me, but it's getting everybody else a realistic expectation of the obstacles that you may face while you're not only being a black American, but you're trying to have an equal piece of the fucking pie that you deserve. And we are not going to sit up here and act like we're not going to sit up here and act like it's just fucking peaches and cream when niggas don't control the wealth and the fucking resources. We got to figure out how to get into the wealth and the resources and take back what's ours. That's it, and that's all. But it's a group thing. I even had to think about when I thought about even racism, right? Dr. Claude Anderson explained racism in the way of saying this is a competition. We have to compete with people who are not even equal to us because they've been handed the piece of the pie. See, their kids don't have to worry about their education. They don't have to worry about generational wealth. They don't have to worry about the shit that we as black Americans have had to worry about for years. You know what that's like? Working yourself to the bone in order not to own shit, to have nothing in your name, and niggas try to take what you got. The last little bit that you got. It is a real frustrating thing, but the rest of Black America has to get on board. I'm not saying you need to go support a black owned business just because it's black owned. Of course, if they got good customer service, nigga, of course, yeah. And share out the products that you get from that black owned business and put their website up. Because there's somebody that may want to travel to where you're at and they may want to try that business. And you help put that black business on the map, which means you help not only put money in their pocket, you help create a job opportunity. You have the power to be a really great positive force in the Black American community. You can do that. If our dollars can sit up here and put politicians in office that don't fuck with us and don't agree with us and don't like us and sit up here and give our money to these stupid ass hair industry that we don't dominate but niggas would love to fucking buy from, I'll be damned if you can't sit up here and take your money, take $50 every couple months and go support a black American owned business and post that shit right here on fucking Twitter. So if you guys have not, check out that interview that's up there in the Jumbotron and make sure you put that black American brother and the rest of the black Americans that are in my highlights on the fucking map. Because I'm asking for support from the family. So I land there, I'm done talking. Thanks.
Okay, so I do go out of my way to support businesses, and they're good businesses. But that's not the point. The point is, and it's a place I can order stuff online, which is what I'm going to do. That's the only way I shop. But here's the difference. I know a lot of people want to compare Black Americans to some new immigrant group that just came over here, but we're not a new immigrant group. We live in every state, in different cities. We're not all hunched up together in Chinatown. So we can't be compared. There has to be another model. You can't herd us all into some area when we don't all live in an area and tell us to, hide our money under the bed and keep it circulating between ourselves like they do in immigrant groups. We're not scared and huddled together like that. So we have to have a new model so that we can support our own businesses. We just do because we don't all live together like that. We've been inundated with immigrants, and I went this way, you went that way, somebody else went the other way, and they busted all the neighborhoods apart. So that's why we don't have these neighborhoods and groups, and we're not set up to be these little scared, huddled together, um, you know, ethnically branded neighborhoods where we're all going to do the same thing and give each other loans. And what do they do? That they have some sort of a loans that they give each other in these communities, and they don't even go to banks. Yeah, we're not going to do that. So we can do other things.
Um, I need to use this as the segue for an ad for my app, because I heard her say several times, we got to, put these people on the map, and that's exactly part of what my app does. It's supposed to operate like Yelp, where you go to a black establishment, you have a good time, you put it you drop a pin and let everyone know how good that place was or how shitty that place was, so we can avoid it. And that's the point. And so, again, when I was testing my app initially, if you can see, this is 3 months ago. This is dated 3 months ago. What I have in the jumbotron, I was this picture that you see here literally caused a fight between me and my wife. um
Oh,
what
okay.
happened was, my wife was talking to me, and I'm just kind of like nodding, like I'm listening. I was listening to her. I really was listening to her. and and so I was importing the Yelp database of LA black businesses, right? And that represents the green pins that you see in there, right? And then I imported the what is his name? He's a professor from Tougaloo. He died, but he was creating a Sundown Town database. And I took that data from the database and I imported that and overlaid it, or underlaid it, as you can see, with the Yelp pins, right? And then I added one vector, which was, I said, I just added a little algorithm that said, if there's multiple sundowns, or if there's like a seriousness to the sundown activity, meaning, you know um, covenant restrictions are like a one, and then like a lynching or some shit like that, or something violent is like a five. And so I would expand the radius of the circle to reflect the severity of the sundown activity that's in his database. And when I did that, you see what's on that map right there. And if you guys pinch and zoom it, you could see how creepy it is, because then you understand that sundown activity follows black business, right? Like it's literally fucking creepy. And this is just me testing my app. I was fucking around, and I was just like, oh, let me just add these two things together. And so the reason it caused a fight between me and my wife, because like I said, I was making changes to the algorithm. I hit enter, and then the map changed, and then she's like, see, I can tell you're not listening to me. But when I saw this map, and I saw it do what it did, it scared the shit. Because look at, okay, look at the northern, like Lancaster. Look at how all the business stops at that one line, and then you go to Lancaster, and then boom, there's a sundown event that follows the business that's out there. And so it's fucking creepy how accurate this shit is. And it really does show that, like, the violence against us in our community has been about repeating what happened to Black Wall Street. So when Wani spoke about, I ain't afraid of no alligators, I ain't afraid of no lions and shit. What I am afraid of is opening a black business and these motherfuckers coming in here talking to me because I don't like them. Right? That's a real fucking thing, and you got to fuck with me in my app because it reveals so much more than this. It revealed everything that I exposed about what's wrong with those bills this weekend, and there's more. I'm gonna be dropping more shit that I got to question Mark Carter on because there's shit going on in this state. I was I went through my lineage verification with Keo the other day, and yes, it was yesterday. It was yesterday, and me and I was showing, and after we did the I was like, oh, okay, I've been evangelizing my shit, so I'm like, like, man, Keo, you got to take a look at my app. He's like, all right, let's take a look, and I'm showing him, and he's like, Vader, what's that? And I'm like, what? What's wrong? And he's like, no, what's that? Click on that right there. We clicked on it, and I'm just going to tell you that Illinois has got some wild shit on their books as far as legislation. And I'm gonna be dropping some shit in the next day or so. I'm gonna make a video and drop. But like you gotta fuck with me in my app because it really is about telling you what's going on around you as far as black businesses, as far as the politics in your state. You guys gotta fuck with me in my app. So just keep watching.
Where can I buy it?
Oh no, it's
Where can I
it,
buy it,
it's
Vader?
it's beta tested. It's free, bro. Just go to my website grfba.org and help with the beta test. Test it out, read the articles, and watch little movies and test it out. And DM me if you guys are having issues and if you want to see something in the app that you think will be useful for our community. I'm fucking open as fuck, man. I'm adding shit to this app all the time. So um yeah, I'm
Will
I
gonna
you
I'm
have
drop
an
gonna
a
dip on
link?
that.
idea.
Will you drop a link so I can access it?
I have an
Yeah, yeah.
idea for it.
I'll put a link in the jumbotron.
Yeah, help the technologically impaired out.
I want to say I'm proud of you, bro, for even
I
developing an
love
app.
it.
That's awesome.
Lego.
Andy,
I'm sorry, go
you had
ahead.
something to add in? Andy, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I was he when he was talking, it was so exciting to me. I wanted to make sure that he dropped a link and like, where I can find it easily because I struggle finding, reading the jumbotrons and stuff. I want to go back and read that. I send them people a lot of stuff in their DMs that I can find, but I really wanted to find that link. But uh back to this what this one gentleman was saying, I think that was King and about his Yelp. Um, we need a Black professional LinkedIn. That would be so great because when you go through LinkedIn, it's too many Africans in there. It's too many people from the diaspora in there. They're not Black American. And we need something that really centers and just focuses on us. Oh my God. I would love to get my hands on that.
I have an
Who
idea
just said
for
that? Who just said that?
Andy.
Andy?
Uh, Let me. Okay. Are you following me? Look, follow you back. Got it. Okay. All
Yes.
right.
What about
Yes.
this one? Say I go into a store and the guy calls me a name and he's rude and I want to report it on the app and just say this is a, problematic store and then it gives an alert. So if someone walks into the store, it kind of says beep 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 this happened to that person. Go ahead, Vader.
No, I didn't want to interrupt. I wanted to cook on what Andy said, so I want you to finish what you said, and then because I want to talk
No, I
about.
was finished.
Okay. All right. Whew. All right. So a black LinkedIn. Let's talk about it.
Yes.
So I'm an ex cloud infrastructure engineer. I used to work for Salesforce. The cat's out of bag. People done dox me and shit. Everybody knows who I am. You can look at my LinkedIn, see what my resume is. And Salesforce, even on LinkedIn, I think I even posted as if it was Facebook way back when. When I started at Salesforce, I was so fucking happy because they done doubled my salary from the job I was making before, and I was gonna be working on some cool shit, right? And the first Black History Month that came up, they scheduled a like an all hands virtual all hands to do like a little Black History Month bent on the monthly meetings. on the monthly meeting, and this man, this hurt my heart. And let me back up just a little bit. At a lot of these tech companies in the Bay Area, they have these things called employee resource groups, and so it's like little. It's like having like the Black Student Union when you go to college. They have it at all these companies, right? They have like the Black Student Union, the gay club, the this, the that, whatever, right? And at all these companies, all of them, they'll have, like I said, they'll have the Indigenous American group. They'll have the Asian group. They'll have the gay group. But the gay group is always included with the black with the Black American group, and the Black American group is actually flat blackness. It's you know, it's just it's whatever it's called. They call it the black group, but that's where the LG the alphabet people got to post up as well. And that shit frustrated me because it was always either um a divester running those organizations, or it was a gay person running those organizations. So whenever you join as a black male, you are always underrepresented in those employee resource groups, right? In fact, the one at Salesforce, they call it Afroforce, and the banner is Africa, and again they lump in, or no, sorry, it's Bold Force. It's not Afroforce. It's Bold Force, but the symbol has Africa in it, right? And so the first Black History Month rolls around, and every speaker was African for Black History Month, and they're talking about they're giving their version of what Black History Month means, which is fully tetherized. And so I recorded it for my wife, and she fucking fell out like it, man. And this
What
shit
were
would
they doing?
what
What were they doing? I need to know.
they
Give me one example.
I mean, they'll tell stories of what it was like to migrate from Ghana, or they'll talk about how good,
That's
their
Black
tradition of
History Month?
their tradition of eating jollof, or
Are you
like,
serious?
I swear to God, I swear to God, it is completely and that's because 99% of the melanated people in these tech companies are African. I could there but when I left Salesforce, there were 70,000 employees. Okay. I can count on one hand the number of Black Americans that I actually worked with. And one of them, only one of them, felt comfortable and safe enough to me to be like, yeah, you watch Tariq? Only one. Only one.
That's why I made that comment because that's what I used to do for my job. I'm a sorcerer. So I find the people for our recruiters to present to our professional services group. I work for tech systems, but I work for tech systems um, professional services, not just
TEK.
yeah, yes, exactly. And you know exactly what I'm talking about. So as soon as you brought that up about the ERGs, that's the main reason why I said we need a black LinkedIn because I realize that everyone else is lumped under our ethno now. And so that's a big deal for me, you know. It was really hard for me to find and staff and source Black Americans. I always had to,
This thing is coming down fast, bro.
go to Africans and different things like that, try to meet that quota. So it would
Your
be
your
nice.
your mic is hot, Anguish.
Back on it, but
Egg wish guy, mute up. Can somebody mute him because I can't? I'm on the computer. I can't do it.
I did it.
I muted him.
So I
Go
was
ahead and
thinking,
go ahead, sister. Go ahead.
I was I was thinking that if we had something that we could, push out for ourselves, the Black professional group, the Black, well, let me correct myself. The Black American professionals, the Black American entrepreneurs, it needs to be worded in a way that can't necessarily be attacked, but one that is definitive for us. We call ourselves Black Americans, you call yourself foundational Black Americans, ADOS or whatever. It needs to be worded in a way that um, lets it be known that it's just us, but that it can't be attacked. Be quiet, Andrew. I'm talking. It needs to be worded in a
Um,
way that
um,
can't be attacked.
so the biggest reason why a lot of people know my history with April and the city. For a long time, I refused to join up because I had serious concerns about the security of running what they're doing on the Discord platform. So I linked up with I went through the lineage verification process, and I'm going to be doing business with them because I want to automate the lineage verification process. And once I do that, then I can include that as part of the app. And once we have that piece, we can do things like have listings for like just us, like you're talking about. On the app that I'm building, you could, if you wanted to, list yourself just as far as like your services, and a link to your LinkedIn if that's what you wanted to do. But like right now my thing is just like black business focused, but there's nothing to prevent someone from just putting in your LinkedIn profile as a black business, or whatever, and it's just a web link to your LinkedIn profile. And if it has that you're of the lineage, then that means what it means, right? So
I
Well,
don't
they
know. I
don't.
never felt safe with LinkedIn. I'm one of the few people that has never trusted LinkedIn. It's like you're putting your whole resume online, and
Same,
people
You
just
are.
look at your stuff.
Well,
I,
they don't.
I
same. I got
May I
rid
ask
of
you
my
Yeah, it's a
something?
little
LinkedIn
too
just
much.
If
just
you do
because of
decide
that.
to use it, you can sell it. Just to let you know, it's that can be easily monetized for you if you were to decide to do that. And how I know that is because most companies have programs where they are looking for quote quote colored people. But when I say the colored people, I'm talking about us. So you could sell that if that was something you were wanting to do. I'm just letting you know.
yeah, and let me just speak to Nikki the God. When I first um, put my profile on LinkedIn, I had concerns too, but it really, being in the tech industry, it pretty much was the best way to network and find work, up until recently. And so LinkedIn isn't for everyone. At the end of the day, it is social media and it is owned by Bill Gates. So I get your concerns. But my thing is if you already have a LinkedIn profile, right, and you're looking through the base app to find, who can I hire that's black, and they've listed themselves in the base app, then it'll link to your resume, and which you've already decided for yourself that you wanted to have on LinkedIn, right?
So why not just make our own, like completely separate from LinkedIn?
I think that's a great idea. I'm just speaking towards the fact that a lot of data is already out there, right?
What you got, Anguish?
Hey, my apologies. When I accepted your invite, it wouldn't let me mute, so I closed the app like twice, and every time I logged in, it still
That's
had it
okay. We're
open.
glitching up lately. It's all right. It's no big deal. You're
Yeah,
welcome to.
Are you good,
and
Yeah.
bro?
yeah. So I just closed the app out when I heard y'all because it wouldn't let me mute. So, yeah, the LinkedIn conversation. First of all, good night, everybody. What's up, Wani? What's up,
Good.
Professor? What's up, everybody? Um, I have, I've had very good, fortunate experiences for a long time with LinkedIn. As someone has mentioned, information could be utilized and misused and so forth. And I have had that experience a few years ago. But again, the risk that did definitely um, they were diminished by the value that I've gained using LinkedIn. When I was on a job market, I had many recruiters. I'm talking about over 150, 200 recruiters, like at least in like a few days, every first Monday through Wednesday of every week, and then Thursday and Friday it'll trickle down. And the what I did with my I didn't post my resume. They do have a feature where you use your resume and it'll extract the information from the resume and put it into your bio, but what I did is I just made an attractive bio that kind of, um, you know, kind of in some way had some of um, the skills that was in my resume, but I've also added like more personable stuff in there. Like, sometimes I had like, you can make posts. LinkedIn is more professional, at least it was. And I think around Donald Trump's period, it became very politicized. I started seeing a lot of posts. I have like a good following on LinkedIn, or good connections. I have like over like 10,000 connections on LinkedIn. So I've used it to help other people get jobs, because what also happens on there is you get irrelevant posts. Just I'm in development, I'm in programming, so I'll get like level 2 desktop support, or tech development, and it's like, I don't do hardware and all that stuff. I'm into coding and stuff. So I would definitely use that to plug people in. Um, what's also good about it, the experience I had is when I was looking for students to train to start off my full stack development courses. This was about 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago. I was able to, look up people that I felt were relative and match the profile, who were looking to get into, what they call a career change, or there's another term they use, but it's been a little minute. And they also have certification courses, but it's LinkedIn certified, and a lot of companies do acknowledge that. Those certification courses, they aren't easy. For some of them, well, most of them aren't easy, but you could definitely study, and allows you to take up to two in a certain amount of time. Now, what I don't like about LinkedIn is the automation they instilled into it in the past year or two, about a year. So a lot of the messages that you get are generic. You could literally go into the chat and and you could enter greetings,
There's
like
a lot of bots. Yep.
yeah, and on my birthday, like I had like over like 2,000 messages, and I'm just like, I'm not answering these things. So now I got like an inbox with thousands of messages from last year and this year because of the generic messages from real profiles, but they just click the button, and then yes, there is some level of bots. Another thing I don't like is they started charging. So to like look at certain profiles, or to make a contact with, like, for example, like, let's just say I was trying to help somebody find a lawyer, and I wanted to message them to ask them, like, what area, or where's your expertise, or whatever questions I had. You have to be a paying member, a premium member, to now do that. So it kind of stripped away a lot of the good features in LinkedIn, because the benefit, I feel like they could have monetized it differently, like maybe monetize advertisement or so forth. But they monetize like communication, and that kind of stripped away the efficacy for me. I still have a profile on there, but other than that, if you have a business, it's definitely great to have a business profile, because like when you go for like a partnership, or you want to connect with another business, or you want to connect with a client, a potential client, it does add some validity to your business, other than a website. To have a LinkedIn profile, which is like one of the best places to have some openings, and some updates and so forth about your business, is definitely useful. Then you have like Indeed and so forth, and Monster, which I don't think anybody uses Monster, but Indeed is the second best in my opinion.
I just wanted to add one little thing to what you said. You said that it was politicized when Trump came on, but I'll say it really coincided more with COVID, and that's was the politicization, right? Is when the jab was being forced and shit like that.
Let me ask you something, Veda. Um, I'm not suggesting this is something for you to do, but I'm just saying if someone else does it, because I might find somebody who'd be interested in starting this. I would be willing to pay for to be on a black professional site, to make the contacts, and just to be, in my own community. So when you say you're going to automate this through this, well, excuse me, you're going to automate a certain process in the city to, verify your ethnicity. That would be another way that that could be like linked together, so we wouldn't have to worry about getting on a site that would eventually become full of the diaspora, full of Caribbeans, Haitians, Jamaicans, things like that. I mean, just a strictly Black American site, that you pay for. And maybe when you sign up for the Black professional site, you sign up to get verified, your ethnicity verified. So that would be like a step that you would go through to utilize the site.
Yeah, that's actually what I'm trying to do. And let me be completely honest about it. That idea is still vaporware. It's an idea in my head, because I had very powerful experiences when I first started doing my genealogy year and a half ago, and I thought that I had like I I always think I'm one of the smartest guys in the room. It's just a thing with being an engineer, and so I'm thinking, oh yeah, I went through this whole genealogy process and I know what I'm doing, and I can create the automation of this. And there's so much that I actually don't know, especially when I went through the verification process with Keo yesterday. It's like he was very thorough, and but there are steps that I would have missed, so I really need to work with a genealogist. I've put feelers out there with Darvid, and then but yesterday for sure I'm going to be working with the city people. And it's not something that I'm gonna be. It took me. It could take me just like a couple weeks to bang something out, but this like actual automating the genealogy process is going to take me quite a long time. So, um, yeah, just fuck with me, and that'll be a feature that hopefully I can get out. But it's doing here's a, like here's just like an example of the complexity, or not complexity, but just how it will go down, right? Like, first of all, like when you're doing your genealogy, like any tether, right? If there's no requirement to identify yourself and tie yourself to a particular line, they could just pick any old grandma, from 1865 or whatever, and then say, oh yeah, I followed this tree and this is me, right? So, and then there's actual um privacy laws around it, right? So like with respect to ancestry.com and to family search, who they're both owned by the Mormon church. um there's privacy laws where if your parents are still alive, then that information can't be publicly disclosed. They can publicly disclose like death certificates, and so like the whole process of automating this is to make it easy, to where it's like, oh yeah, I signed up with my credit card and here's my jedcom from ancestry, and boom, oh yeah, these lineage verified. Like that's, it's got to be that simple, or else no one wants to fuck with it. But there's a lot of complexities that go underneath that, especially with the rules around privacy that make it difficult. So that's why I'm saying that it's gonna be a while, but I need you guys to mess with me before I get that done. So at this time, just visit the website. I still haven't taken the time to post I'm gonna post my website. Check out what my app does, and donate if you can, and to keep me going. And then obviously enter businesses that you could run into to get the database up and going, and it shares it with everybody, and that's the cool thing. So I'll land on that.
That's awesome, bro. I been trying to advocate to get more of our students involved with STEM, with medicine, but engineering, that's critical. We're entering a time where computer literacy is going to determine, if you can get employment or not. You know what I'm saying? And the crazy thing about it is Amos Wilson talked about it in the 90s. He said they can change all the laws and eliminate Jim Crow, but if your kids don't know how to program, then or operate around a computer, then they're still going to be segregated just by default. I mean, they're going to be held back by default. But yeah, that's awesome, dude. So, did Johnny Cochran die working on reparations lawsuit? He actually did. Those of you walking in the room earlier, we discussed. I did a little research on it. I couldn't find a suit that was filed from the Cochran firm, but what I did find is Johnny assembled a dream team of lawyers. Charles Ogletree, a black law professor at Harvard Law, that was involved with a $1 billion lawsuit. Alexander J. Perez, a lawyer who got $1 billion. Um, Attorney R. Scruggs got a $368.5 billion lawsuit. Um, they assembled and were doing research when Johnny got sick. So if those two things are related, I don't know. But it's very suspicious. Um,
You left out Barbara Ratliff, who was in that video, and I sent that her name to and contact info
oh,
to Wani.
educators.
Yeah, she was part of that team. The video that I sent Wani is the is of that team actually arguing in front of that judge. Um, and um, and Barbara Ratliff is the only one that had charisma and was actually looking out for the lineage very specifically in that. And so I sent Wani like all of her like her California bar info where you could find her contact info.
And I can't think of his name, but it was somebody who was DMing me. And one of the quickest ways to carve out an ethnicity or a delineation from other groups is through religion. And he was like, you know what, Andy, we've got to revive or create our own religion because there are a lot of protections that automatically fall under um, a legitimate religion. And that was, I don't know, that's been playing in the back of my mind for like a long time. And has anyone ever heard of that? Or is that just something that's just like far fetched to you?
No, it's not far fetched at all. A matter of fact, the function of religion is to protect the group of people that use it. Religion as a tool. Now, Dr. John Henry Clark used to always say, either make Christianity or Islam or whatever your religion is work for you, or throw it in the ash can of history. But yes, in brief, that's what nations do. They take they create a framework around religion that helps them. You know what I'm saying? So that doesn't make it any less holy. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a good idea. I think just to succeed, we're going to have multi-vector ideas. We need that idea going, but we need a common thread. You know what I'm saying? But it's not a stupid idea at all. Maybe reinterpret the religious book. You know what I'm saying? Have the a different version of the, if you are a Christian, have a different version of the Bible that serves your people. You know what I'm saying? That doesn't make it any less holy. Hell, if King James wrote a version of the Bible and he had his mama killed, King James had his mama killed. You know what I'm saying? I would rather read an Andy version of the Bible than a King James version. No
Well,
cap.
thank you very much.
All right, Mike 3M. Mike 3M. Come on up.
A bit. One of the things they always talk about, well, where's the money going to come from, right? So I read this book by Judge Dale. It's titled The Great American Adventure. And he also wrote another paper called Matrix of the U.S. Constitution. So in there, he was talking about how they were telling him that everything he's doing in the court and on the bench is illegal. And he said he felt it was a lot of foolishness. So he started looking into it. He said he found out that everybody's double dipping on you. And, with the money that they set up in that birth certificate account when you're born, he said he had a person in finance run his account down, and he still had what he said 300 million. Some of these things they say have 2 to 3 billion in it, and they were saying that this is what how a lot of people stay in faith because they double dip. They take your money from you, then they take money from the that account. And I was just wondering, Is there any way they can utilize that? So, well, you can turn that over as their birthright and they can utilize their own money. Just an idea.
Well, I hear what you're saying, and Dr. Claude Anderson talks about that in detail. He says that, and somebody correct me if I get because I don't have the text in front of me, but he says something like Europeans, whites live off 90% of their income and 100% of their income, and was it 90% of our income?
Yes.
So yeah, that's the way that works. But I would kind of push back. I think you have a good idea, but I would push back on the concept of they're taking money from somewhere. We often forget that in 19 money used to be based. My grandmama told me you used to be able to trade in dollar bills for gold or silver bullion at the bank in the 60s. Um, make a long story short, American dollar used to be on the gold standard. So what happened? We went to that damn Vietnam War, and the French peeped our game. They watched how much money we were spending in the Rolling Thunder campaign. That was the Air Force bombing Cambodia, dropping so many fucking bombs that now, right now, if you walk through Cambodia, like there are kids right now walking in Cambodia, stepping on ordnance, blowing their feet off. Like, but anyway, France peeped the game. They said it ain't no way in hell, given the fact money was based on gold, right, or silver, right. The French said it ain't no way in hell that America got this much gold and silver. They capping. So the French put sent fucking warships to the East Coast and demanded that the United States give them their, because we held some of their gold in Fort Knox for safekeeping. The French said, "Give that shit back now." And after we gave the French back their gold, President Richard Nixon took us off the gold standard. So I think that was 1971, when Nixon took us off the gold standard, the dollar bill became quasi worthless. It wasn't based on shit. However, it was based in a small way on the petrodollars, based on oil in Saudi Arabia. So it did have it had a, it was the value was dramatically diminished. However, it was based on something tangible. Well, there are some scholars, and I'm not an economist, but I know a thing or two. There are scholars that argue that um, given our poor relationship with Saudi Arabia and Saudi Arabia moving on to BRICS currency, that compounded with Biden turning his back, the Biden administration turning their back, quote, so to speak, on the oil lobby and moving for this new electronic car mess that I think is going to backfire on us in the long run. um, there's some people that say the dollar bill is in a lot of ways worthless. I'm not going to say it's worthless, but what I'm going to say, my friend, is money is created out of thin air. The dollar bill is created as an instrument of debt. What do I mean by that? What I mean is, when you and your wife go buy a house, let's say it's $400,000, and you get a loan for $400,000. The bank ain't getting $400,000 from anywhere. That $400,000 is not in the bank. The bank puts $400,000, a number, in a computer with little green characters, and hits enter. So my argument is, if they can just create money out of thin air to give you a loan, they can create our fucking reparations. Art, what you got?
Yeah, they can create money out of thin air, but inflation diminishes purchasing power. So if they were to do so, and I often tell people that playing devil's advocate with reparations, like if I owe white people reparations, I'd give them their money, and then I'd keep the printer on and give all my friends double that amount of money. Think you know what that would do, right? And so when we ask for reparations, the printer should be off limits. I had several conversations with the more whiter persuasion, and yeah, they want you to print the money because they'll just leave the printer on, and just you know what I mean. So even though they act like they argue against it, so that should not be something we actually pursue. Um, that talking point of where we're gonna get the money though is really easy. I put the DTCC right there, and also the Treasury. The Treasury processes like roughly 1 trillion per year in clearances. Oh, sorry, 1 quadrillion. My bad, in clearances, and then the DTCC processes another 2.3 quadrillion in clearances. So that's 3.3 trillion. But I'll just do the DTCC for now. If we were just to put a 0.1% tax on that, that would yield 2.3 trillion a year. So then you could do a sundown clause, and then that sundown clause would increase or decrease based on the percentage, right? So if they wanted to do 0.001, that would be roughly 230 billion a year, and then based on whatever that end number is, you put a sundown clause on that. So the faster they wanted to pay it off, the better. And I told they were like, well, why would they want to do that for processing those clearances? Well, the reason is easy. For rich people, they'll be pissed, aka the people that probably owe us money anyway, like the J.P. Morgans, the Black Rocks of the world, because usually they pay a couple $1,000s to get insider trader tips. But that would let people know is that 2.3 trillion annually is going to a particular group of people who have a trend in how they spend money. And everybody, that'd be open information, which means you can invest accordingly, which also means anybody in America could make money off that. So even though essentially black Americans will be getting the money, it's a potential because of it's almost like insider trading. Everybody could invest and make even more money, right? So it actually would help the economy overall, especially since black people tend to keep their money in America. So um, I don't the money's there, but do not do not do make the mistake of saying that you have to pay it in any form of taxes that's outside of like some kind of capital gains tax that's like 0.1%, or that taxpayers themselves, like particularly poor taxpayers, are not paying that, will ever pay it, and neither will we be printing money, because I'm not trying to get $1 million or $2 million, and then my purchasing power is one third of what it was, so I'm actually only getting like whatever the fuck that is. You know what I mean? So
It would be like Weimar Germany.
yeah, so our money wouldn't even be worth shit. And then, like I said, they can ensure that by just leaving the printer on. That's why another reason why it should never be a talking point that they should print the money. I hate that talking point. I equally hate the talking point that it comes from taxes, because it does not need to come from taxes at all. Um, I don't know why that talking point's even out there. So basically that's why I made it clear. And to those who say, well, why would the DTC, or how are they tied to slavery? Well, the DTC just teamed up with Citibank, who's a beneficiary of slavery, and BlackRock, who got seeded by Blackstone, who got seeded by Lehman Brothers, who's a beneficiary of slavery. So DTCC indirectly is tied to two different organizations uh, that are tied to slavery. So that's equally
Wake it up,
yeah, so
Art.
that's where the money would come from. And so,
And
like,
can you see why they're trying to fight reparations so hard? Can anyone understand that?
wait, fight, you say fight reparations?
Can you understand why they're trying to fight it so hard? Because it's more than just the financial thing. It's a justice claim where they could actually pay us what we're due.
They
That
just,
would
I,
reset the economy.
yeah, I know this is a phenomenon that most people, particularly a lot of us, don't get. They just don't like us. Like,
And
we,
like
we
ain't
have
nothing
we
to
have
do about
laws
it.
on the
Like
books.
ain't nothing to do about it. Is
Hold,
what's
hold on a
French.
second. Hold on a second.
Hey, hold on, Fish and Grits. Hold on.
We have when people say that, that annoys me, because we have laws on the books that they don't enforce, but they make new laws. Literally make new laws for other people, but won't enforce the ones you got on the books already. That means they just don't like you, bro. Like, I mean, you could sit here and make up whatever excuses you want to make up of why that is or how that is, but any group of people that's willing to spend what, by Citibank's estimate, which is the beneficiary of slavery, so it's probably low, 16 trillion that they paid out in the last 20 years for discrimination. That means these people are willing to pay trillions of dollars to fuck us over. That's not because they like you. Like, you know what I mean? Like I sometimes the simplest answer is the answer. Like, this is the most
They're
direct
willing
path
to
is
shoot themselves in the foot just to get us.
It's deeper than that, ladies and gentlemen. James Baldwin, the late great James Baldwin, identified that psychology. He said the innocence is the crime. They have a need. They have been involved in such insidious evil, such low down, insidious filth that um, they build a wall of cognitive dissonance. Like, I didn't do that. That's impossible. And in conclusion, James Baldwin argued that if they were ever forced to face and acknowledge what they did, just facing that would kill them. They drop dead. So they go out their way to keep that wall of cognitive dissonance up. I didn't do that. I don't not responsible. It wasn't me. I had nothing to do with that. It's more about them denying and trying to live this innocent facade. But they do hate us. You're right about that. James Baldwin said the innocence is a crime. Fish and grits, what you got?
Let me just sneak this real in really quick before fishing grits. So I put in the
Go ahead.
jumbotron a link to the video that I sent to Wani. It's got the team members that you were talking about, Johnny Cochran's team members arguing before the Supreme Court, and it ties into the current conversation that y'all are talking about, especially what Art said about they just don't like us. You can hear the disrespect and the disdain in the Supreme Court justice's voice. He looks for every absolute reason that he can to smack down every motion that Johnny Cochran's team is presenting. And then you can catch a glimpse of the brilliance of the sister that's on that team. And I just wanted, so it's in the jumbotron. It's you take a look at it after the room is ended.
Thank you, bro. Appreciate you. Fish and grits.
Yeah, like I was saying, there's a couple of conversations. Y'all was in a couple good ones, but the American dollar. First, let me get that one out the way. The American dollar, it was pegged to gold, but what happened is that during there was a big world forum that all currencies are tied to the American dollar. So you can't trade on the global market unless you trade for American dollars. So you got to trade your money for American dollars, and then trade those American dollars amongst each other to trade across the world. Because we made the American dollar the world trade currency. So that's a part of that, and we needed more dollars and to be able to do that. So pegging it to gold, and it being pegged to gold was impossible. We didn't need we needed more money than we had gold to back it. So that's why I learned a little bit about that. And yes, it's hate and disrespect, and with them folks and all the other folks that hate and disrespect, it's just hate and disrespect, man. By now, um, we should have been whipping ass, but we've been too nice and shit. We've been very nice, especially up here in the north. Up here, we've been letting everybody up here with open arms. I remember I had this conversation maybe 10 years ago with my friends from Harlem, and they was talking, and they said the same shit. They're not.
You still here, bro?
He probably got a call.
Okay. Well,
I wanted
while
to
we're
ask
waiting on
Art
him,
another question, an economic question, if I
oh,
could.
go ahead. Go ahead.
So, Art, if we have been chattel, right? And I still contend that we're still currency. So, although we're not chattel, we're still currency and we're used as such. Were they to actually give us reparations for our harms, what is the economic term when you give or place money on top of money?
That really depends on where the money's going, and so
Okay.
like we could somebody would have to do, and I haven't done it, is scale how black people are spending their money, particularly groups who come into new money, and then that would give you the likelihood of what most likely is going to happen when reparations hits. Although it won't be on the dot because obviously money changes things, it would give you an idea or generalization, right? Which is what most investors would do if they ever thought you did get the money, because they would try to invest in it to get a turnaround or a kickback off of it, right? So, and that's how you could always sell it to the white community, is that, look, man, you could have these big wigs get $2,000 reports, you know what I'm saying, and then and explain and like basically do insider trading, or you could know where this money's going and invest accordingly. You see what I'm saying? Which gives everybody an opportunity, and so that's ultimately would be the selling point.
So you telling all the white people who already own mass shares in Hennessy and Nikes and shit that that their investments is gonna explode after you give us reparations? I'm just
I
saying
mean,
for the
yeah,
white
yeah.
people.
Whether it's true or not is going to still remain how good they are at catching the trends. Like black people could go against the trends, and then they could lose all their money, right? So it's not guaranteed. It's just something that they could. It's an incentive mechanism because right now the only white people getting paid is people who can afford them, like basically $1,000 reports, giving them an insider advantage, right? So like new companies coming up and et cetera, et cetera. Whereas everybody would have the opportunity of that kind of paperwork, knowing that the black community was getting X amount of money. You see what I'm saying? So it's sort of like an insider tip, so to speak, of how the money's going to be spent for over X amount of time, whatever the sundown clause is. So that's basically the general consensus of that.
Outstanding art. Earlier, uh, they were talking about, the gentleman Fishing Grist was talking about they hate us, and that we all were saying that. I felt inclined to remind everybody that, based off of nature and nurture, according to the Iceman inheritance, that's work of scholarship. The author argued that, I think Dr. Michael Bradley, that sounds familiar, but he argued that the nature, the cold climate of that young Andrias ice age, whatever you want to call it, had limited resources, outrageously limited resources, during the Europeans' ethnogenesis. So that, he argues, that's where the nature of competitiveness comes from, brutal competitiveness. I was reading an article years ago where some anthropologists and archaeologists went um, to the Caucasoid Mountains looking for bones of a baby. I've said this before, but they were looking. They said that every culture, when you dig up their bones, there are always infants there. That's just a constant. But they said when they dug up bones during that period of time of the Young Andrias in the Caucasoid Mountains, they were just baffled. They couldn't find bones of infants. And they finally found several partial bones, and they had teeth marks on it, which implied that resources were so scarce that they ate children during that epoch of time, or maybe they thought children were delicious. I don't know, but this period of time created an outrageous competitiveness that is ingrained in the unconscious mind of this group of people, and we see this manifesting in this ideology of not having enough money. Bill Gates is still trying to make money. Jeff Bezos is still trying to make money. Elon Musk is still trying to have some big. I mean, you got enough money, dude, but it's intrinsically involved. Lastly, I'm gonna put a picture in a jumbotron because Art was actually right. Um, when I brought up, hell, just put the print the money out of the banks, just take it out of thin air. He was right. That would devalue the dollar and turn and trigger a Weimar Germany situation. I got a couple photographs y'all might enjoy that shows Weimar, children in Weimar Germany after the collapse of the Deutsche Mark. Children just playing with, you know, $20 million, and somebody, it's a little girl playing with it. It's a man with a plate, a big bowl of $100 bills. Um, Useless. Um, there, I'm putting it in jumbotron now.
We really got, when you really consider that, the framework, the context of paying reparations and the effect on the economy, someone that really understands macroeconomics should really comment on it, because it's not the actual going to the bank, getting the loan, and then they print the money from the screen that creates the problem of inflation. It's the actual purchase of the home, and because of the free access to the money, the fact that everyone now has money and is buying the homes, that's what's creating the inflation, right? It's the fact that everyone can now. And so what what Newsom was going to do if he signed that fucking bill with the Mexi Mansion bill, um, and all of a sudden beaners can come across the border and then become your landlord because they can now get an FHA loan to get a 4 unit complex. Thanks to the California government, right? Like what that would have done would have dramatically, like California real estate is, everyone already understands, is astronomically high. But now imagine the free money that would have generated, right? And or the sorry, the inflation that all that free money would have generated. People like that, you couldn't stop people from coming across the border, right? They would crash the border and use their own babies as as human shields and shit, right? And so it's so no matter how you paid reparations, you can expect that if there's a cash component and it's a large amount, and all of a sudden we start purchasing land and things like that, it's the cost of doing business is going to go up, and so there should be some kind of cost inflation adjustment for that. But we really need someone who understands macroeconomics to explain how we could get around that. And I'm not that guy, but I do see the problem of just saying, well, we can get it this way versus that way. It's still going to be a problem once it's doled out.
One is price. One is is artificial price gouging, which you could stand off and literally boycott if you had money. So essentially, the black community could just stand off. Boycotts is literally the defense against price gouging, right? And you could just like say we're not spending that money in America if this price gouging continues, for example.
What does
And
a
so,
boycott look like in the face of buying land?
just not buying land in America at certain thresholds. So until drop below those thresholds, you just put your money in the bank and collect interest. Black owned banks. What are they going to do?
Well,
So
like,
so
you know what? They have that built in because if you'll notice, like for the veterans, and I'm a veteran, so I'm just speaking from what I know on this issue. They have those
You got a
protections
black
built
owned
in.
bank right now.
yeah. So but my essentially what I want to get at is there's a right wing economist which is Milton Friedman. And 2 points that he pointed out, and keep in mind he's the most right wing economist that you can get. It gets more socialist as that, right? So there he's like individualistic as you can get, and he says that the best way to cure poverty is to give people money. That was his literal thing. And he also said that if you want a simple way to understanding money, inflation is caused by printing a dollar. It's not complicated because when you have more of something, it loses its value. Like I mean, it's just simple supply and demand, right? So I mean, people like to complicate it, and there was another economist that pointed this out that the way banks print money is so simple it boggles the mind. Or some, so I'm paraphrasing that, but that's basically what he was getting at. And he's a left wing economist. So like, it's not it's supply and demand, credits and debits, checks and balances are not as complicated as a lot of people like to make
So
it.
right there in what you said, when there is an abundance of something, the value goes down. Land is finite, and if land is finite and everyone now has money, that's going to cause inflation.
Not everybody that
And
has money, that's a fallacy because if we were given
if you pay
300, if
if
we
you pay reparations,
yes, but
right?
hold on a second.
Hang on. If you pay reparations, all of a sudden 15% of this population has money.
Okay, but that's not everybody. 85% don't. So that's the fallacy.
The other 85% already have money.
No, they don't. Roughly, like if we're really gonna
Okay,
nitpick, maybe
if
5 to 10% of the country
if
has money.
if we look at the wealth gap and we understand what the others own and what we don't, all we're doing is closing the wealth gap.
No, you're doing far more than that because what a lot of people don't understand, and this, and I never use this talking point, but because it's relative, the black to black wealth gap is the same as the white to white wealth gap. It's exactly the same, which means the rich black are that much richer than the poor blacks in like percentage wise as the rich white and the poor white. It's just that the whites have more money in circulation. That's it.
Fishing.
Okay, but why
Now I want
was
this
the all right, never mind.
lady first. Lady first. Let
Go
lady
ahead, Annie.
talk.
Okay, so the reports that I have been reading are just the opposite, and it's based on the average. So although they may have money, the average white family has about 2 to 300K in assets. unless I'm misreading that.
No, no. Yes, average, which means still it still remains to what I said, which is more money in circulation. If Johnny has $1 million, right, and Joe only has $10, we'll say that that's the black community, and then in the white community, it's Richard has $10 million, and the bottom guy is Larry with $100. It's still the same ratio, even though the average is going to look slightly better.
You're using an anecdote to
It's not an
actually
anecdotal
argue.
because I can literally show you that the differential is that
You've made up these names,
okay,
Andy and Arnold.
okay, bruh.
Hang on.
I
And
never
her
say shit I can't
and her
cite, bro.
numbers her numbers say that the average white person has $200,000 more than the average black person, and there's three times as many white people as there are black. So
That still just says more money in circulation, though. That's not leaving that point.
if black Americans do a land run, right, we'll lose.
Who's gonna do a land run? This is my point, man. Like you, it's supply and demand, and so that's why I said education is gonna be the primary thing, even if we get money, because we don't have to cause a
How
land
many
run.
people in the room, thumbs up, thumbs down, how many people in the room, if reparations are paid, how many people in the room are going to buy a condo and not land? Yeah, see, no one.
Okay, okay,
How
but
many
that's
people, now,
anecdotal.
hang on, Art. How many
Uh,
people in this room plan to buy some land if they get their reparations check? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
That's still anecdotal. There's
I
40
don't
million
know.
Americans. Like at the best, you can call this a microcosm. Like that doesn't mean anything. Like that's irrelevant.
He's kind of right about that. Not everybody's gonna build land with their money or buy land with their money. But I wanted to make it real quick on how banks work, just for everybody who knows, so you understand the marketing when you see it all the time. Real quick, I'm not I'm just assuming. Banks make money through deposits. That's the reason why every bank offer you money to bring your deposit over to their bank. Because when you they get to create loans off your deposit, which they lend to other people. What you said about the house and shit like that, where you can get the money from. You get it from you. From you that direct deposit they checking in that account every Friday. They get to make a loan 10 times, 90% off. They get to loan out 90% of that money, keep 10%, and that's how the banks work and shit.
And you
So
can actually use that against them because we could go buy houses, lands, and property, then take loans out on the house, lands, and property, and pay no taxes on that money. So I mean, we could
Respectfully,
use that shit against them as well. So it's not like it's a one-way street; it's a two-way street.
respectfully,
Quickly,
fractional reserve
quick, quick,
lending
quick
and all
interjection.
that.
Earlier, y'all were talking about the disparities in wealth. I had a diagram I was looking for from Brookings Institute. They're pretty reliable, and I put it in the jumbotron. Y'all look at that right quick. Look at the disparities in wealth in the United States of America, and yeah, black is at the bottom. It's ridiculousness.
Thank you, sir.
Carry on. What were you saying?
I was just saying that fractional reserve lending was done away with a few years ago, and that's the point of the fact that you walk into a bank, you buy a home, and yes, they just print it from their screen, and there's no requirement anymore to have deposits to be able to loan that money out, or so the only money that they make on your deposits is from the investments on your deposits. But as far as fractional reserve lending, that's been done away with. That requirement was deregulated a few years ago.
Earlier somebody brought up, I think it may have been Andy, said somebody said, aren't we money, were we really free? I looked at the
Yes.
Yeah, I looked at the there's a I'm not going to take credit for this. There was an attorney named Alton Maddox. I think Alton died this year, and he proved, in court, he looked at the word emancipation. Emancipation, which we're told means free, it does not mean free. Emancipate um, comes from the Latin root emancipare, which means to transfer. So, and it means transfer with respect to ownership of slaves in Rome. So, did Lincoln pull a fast one on Frederick Douglass?
Yes, yes, he did.
I'm just saying, y'all.
And that's the issue that I guess I'm grappling with. It's probably a philosophical issue, but I know it turns into an economic issue. If we are the poorest group, well, we know that being the poorest group causes us to be an unwilling harvest group. And I'm not going to get into that economically either because I'm sure everyone else is aware of our stats and how we pay more for almost all services in our democracy. So if we're a harvest group, that still makes us currency, per my way of thinking. So just bear with me on this, okay? If That's why I was trying to get Art to give me that proper economic term. If we are a harvest group, which means that we are bond or debt or currency, as I like to call us, then giving us reparations makes us, and I want to keep saying this, it keeps flying through my mind, doubly indemnified. Yeah, I know that means something totally different, but I feel like that is one of the main reasons why they don't want to economically repair us because we are a harvest group. And
Yeah,
were you to
you
economically,
used the right
okay, go
word.
ahead.
You're right.
Okay,
I'm just saying indemnity, and an
because like
indemnity
I said,
clause is when you put money on top of
yes,
money. So yeah, you're right.
that's it. Okay, so I'm working through this, so just bear with me, okay? I haven't had any wine yet. So, and my best ideas come after 2 o'clock with a glass of wine. So, I'm always looking at the legal aspect of why they don't want to repair us reparationally because it's more to it than just money and it's more to it than just justice. I keep saying over and over again that we are currency and they spend us at will. And that's one of, yes, somebody add that in. Go ahead, please.
Hold on, because I want humans are money. Like I have the ability more so than any other time, and I posted a dissertation about how capitalism started when America did, and it's important to know that. What capitalism essentially does is allow you to put other people's time in your pocket, and when you understand that,
Exactly.
and so when you do forex, right, you get the gist that money and the dollar index, right, the DXY, like money is not worth like you think your money's worth $1. It's not. It changes every day. It goes up, it goes down like a stock, and you can look that stock up. It's called DXY, and so does every other money. So money is not even money because your dollar can hit zero, just like any other stock. So essentially, the best way to look at money is things that people are willing to trade time, food, or gratitude for. Essentially,
Yes.
those are the real currencies: time, food, and gratitude. You can't eat gold. So even gold, while tried and true and rare as it may be, if shit hit the fan and food would still supersede gold. Bullets would supersede gold, right? Like so,
Okay,
That's a fact.
who's talking right now?
like you know what I mean. So
Who's
it's
talking
all
right
in
now?
retrospect.
Oh, Art's talking. You can't hear him.
Okay, good. No, because I want to address art. That is my point. But listen, art, if all of the businesses were founded on slavery, okay, then that means that that money in that business is also ours. What I'm also trying to correlate, and I know I'm doing a poor job of it, we were traded on Wall Street, okay? So not only were we currency, we were, you got to help me out. I need you to fill this in for me economically because I'm not astute in this angle. So not only were we currency, we were also, y'all help me out. I need somebody
one
to,
one of the people that they're trying to sue in that video that I posted, one of the people that they're trying to hold on the hook is JP Morgan Chase, right? Because and AIG is another one. Why? Because they financed, right? And so there's loans to buy slaves, and then just like when you buy a car today, if you buy a car and you finance it, that bank that issued that loan wants you to insure that car. make sure that they're going to get their money back, right? Because if you damage a car and you walk away from making your payments, then they lose the money. So AIG and others insured slaves, and so that's one of the fights they had in there. If you do Google and AI searches for the all of the top banks that comprise the Fed today, most of them, something north of like 70-80%, go back to the days of financing slavery. Most of it.
Yes,
So the Fed is clear, like J.P. Morgan Chase and others, Bank of America and others. Most of the and some of the banks, believe it or not, are actually foreign banks. But they came here to America because they knew they could make a buck. So like Deutsche Bank is one of them, and so a lot of these banks started in the 1700s. Um, and so it's very clear, how they got their start and where they got their money from. So the money's there, and it's just for us to make the right case to get it.
capitalization. That's what you're looking
The
at. With
farmer
currency and capital.
Farmer Perlman Smith, sorry, yes, Farmer Perlman was the one that did that tort claim case. It was versus Fleet Boston. You can look that case up. It's Farmer Perlman versus Fleet Boston, and they've done several dissertations. I put one in the jumbotron for Farmer Perlman versus Fleet Boston Financial Group. The general consensus of that was, and or they considered the flaw, a serious case for slavery reparations, if possible, will have to be built on statistical analysis rather than emotional appeal. Um, and I posted a couple of dissertations on in regards to that case. They all say pretty much the same thing, and that's why when I be in these rooms, I'm like, don't try to. And we're talking to the Pelsians. I'm like, don't try to appeal to their morality. They don't have any. And this is not my words. This is their words, both right there in that what I just posted. But more so, they did a study, um, and said that white people tend to lack empathy. They have an empathy gap, particularly in social economic issues. And get this is the kicker: that study was done by white people about their kids.
Well, it goes back to that young advice. You have to look. You have the history erases the mystery. Nature versus nurture. Most people, most psychologists agree that your personality is formed um, based on your genetics and your environment. And some scholars say environment is more important. So being born and emerging during the ice age when there was little sunlight, freezing cold temperatures, very little resources. Number one, you value masculinity because a man is more valuable in that. No offense, ladies, but a man is more valuable in those conditions because you're outdoors. What I'm saying? He can hunt more. So you start looking to male leadership. Does that sound familiar? Women become kind of liabilities for the opposite reasons. Food is scarce. Brutality is a virtue, being brutal and ferocious. Killing is virtuous. Does that sound familiar? And the scarcity of resources creates this personality trait where you just can't get enough. You want everything. Dr. John Henry Clark said the European doesn't play fractions. He wants it all. Last but not least, one we often miss is the European concept of time. They came about in a period of time where it was fucking freezing cold. You had a 3 month window to have children, so you had to get your and there was, what do you call it, polyandry. One dude had shared, no, no, I had it backwards. 10 dudes shared one wife because women were a liability. Polyandry, and if you want to get your community wife pregnant, you had to time it just right so she had that baby before it got real cold, or you were gonna lose the baby. Um, you had to plant crops at a damn near precise time, or you were gonna starve to death. So we have a child that goes to school today, a foundational Black American child, and this child is taking tests under a European paradigm concept of time. You need to take this test in 45 minutes. What the fuck does 45 minutes or an hour have to do with your intelligence level? That's why shit's fucked up right now. It's because we're operating in this Eurocentric concept of urgency. Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Sometimes you got to take your time and do shit right. That's what my grandmama used to say.
And that's why we suffer from what's called weathering, because their time is not our time. So, but I wanted to tie that into about what we really represent in this economy as 40 million people. So if we're a bottom caste, we're harvest. One, we're harvest. Two, we're a capitalization group because they build prisons, social work, policing, the court systems, which we all know the court systems is one of the biggest industries in the United States.
Oh yeah.
They build a lot of industries based on our oppression. So we're capitalization, we're currency, and we act as a social harvest. These are the things that when I think about what reparations actually mean, and when we say it's more than just money or land, it's also a justice claim. So it's a
You see, but
trifold
this
thing.
is
Go ahead.
to me, it's just like I don't understand the arguing of justice. I just like I think that that takes away from the just give us the check situation. And a lot of people say because these people, first of all, I like to remind people this the military is 81% are white Latino. Police is like 82% white Latino. The country 77% white Latino. I have no like misconstrued vision of these people ever truly enforcing any type of justice in regards to us. How would they, or why would they? Do you think that eighty
Let me
percent?
Can I clarify that a bit when I say justice? When I say justice, I'm not talking about it in any philosophical or even social sense. I'm talking about outside of constitutional.
No, that
We're
then you
treated
are talking
out.
about social. To be very
We're, we're
clear, see,
we're treated outside of the Constitution
no,
because if you
hold
notice,
on 1 second though. One
Just
second.
let her cook, Art.
okay,
I
if
just
you notice that they brought this up when they this recently did the mortgage audit, and they found how the percentage that Black Americans were discriminated against, and they fined them. So we know that discrimination cost them between 16 and 19 trillion dollars a year. I'm tying this to money now. I'm not getting emotional, and if you call me emotional, I'm going to get very upset with you. I'm talking about money. And when I say justice, I'm saying outside of the Constitution, outside of law and how it's applied to us. So that's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking
Well,
about anything
Andy,
else.
I'm gonna agree with you. And while you were talking, I put some scholarship in the jumbotron. You brought up the prison industry, and you said that that was all about money, right? Well, let's look at
Yes.
what Professor Chris. Let's look at what Professor Chris Hedges. Y'all can take this and run with it and use it at will. What Professor Chris Hedges says about the prison system on page 279 of America: The Farewell Tour. He argues that America's over with. That's a whole nother story. He says, but quote, but corporate profit is not limited to the building and administrating of prisons. Corporations rely on prison labor. Federal prisoners, who are amongst the highest paid in the United States prison system, make as much as $1.25 an hour. They produce military helmets, uniforms, pants, shirts, ammunition belts, ID tags, and tents in prison. Prisoners work often through subcontractors for major corporations such as Chevron, Bank of America, IBM, Motorola, Microsoft, McDonald's. They make McDonald's in prison, which makes uniforms in prisons. AT&T, Starbucks, all those nice Starbucks cups are made in prison by black men for free. Then they charge our ass $10 for a cup of coffee, which manufactures holiday products in prison. Nintendo. What the fuck is Nintendo making in prison? And my favorite, Victoria's Secret. Victoria's Secret underwear made in prison. That's the fucking secret. Is them drawers is made in prison by a black man. J.C. Penney's, Sears, Walmart, Kmart, Eddie Bauer, Wendy's. They making Wendy's in prison, really? Procter and Gamble, Johnson and Johnson, fruit of the motherfucking loom is made in prison. Caterpillar, Sara Lee, they making cookies in prison. Quaker Oats, fucking oatmeal is made in prison. Mary Kay, Microsoft, Texas Instruments, Dell, Honeywell, Hewlett Packard, Nortel, Nordstrom's, Revlon, Macy's, PR card in, and fucking Target is made in prison. Prisoners in some states run dairy farms. Your milk's made in prison, y'all. They staff call centers, take hotel reservations, or work in slaughterhouses. They carry out public services such as collecting highway trash in states such as Ohio. A Louisiana sheriff in 2017 held a press conference to denounce a prisoner release program because it costs his department free labor. So, y'all tell me this, is it about justice or is it about money?
Yes, and you tell me if it's emotional or not.
Nah, you were straight on.
Yo,
I didn't.
his view, Chris Hedges' view. He's an anarchist. If you didn't know, that's how I know about Chris Hedges. Uh,
I don't think he's an
no, I
anarchist.
can literally he calls himself that. So I can, if you want me to cite that, I can.
I don't think he's that. I know I would like
Yeah,
to.
I'll cite it. I'll cite
You
it.
know,
But
much love, but I
yeah,
he's a pastor.
he claims he's a libertarian socialist and or anarchist. It's pretty much what he self
Interesting.
so that's why he has this view on prisons that he does. It's not necessarily geared towards white or black. He thinks prisons as a whole is bad in the first place, which kind of brings me to my point, because you have some black people that like the prison system, and so even after the fact that they know that, yeah, prison labor. I told people in Louisiana, there was immigrants, ironically, that went on strike. Larger portion of the sanitation workers down there was on strike, and guess who they got replaced with? Prison labor. They fired all the people. That's why I said immigration is only the first level. Then they're gonna replace those people with prison labor, and then they're gonna replace those because they're building new prisons, and then they're gonna replace those people with robots. So it's three layers to this. It's not just, oh, we get immigration and we're done. You know what I mean? You beat immigration, you got another level, and then another level after that.
Yeah, this shit hella serious. Twizzle, what you got, bro? Good to see you. Can you hear me, Twizzle? I don't think you can hear me. But the prison issue is slightly related to law, Andy, because the 13th Amendment um did not abolish slavery. It said slavery is abolished, but for the rightful conviction of a crime. So that turns into an incentive to arrest people. Chris Hedges says a black man on the street playing basketball is not worth anything. But if you hit him with a conviction, you can make $45,000 off of him in prison, making shit for the state.
Yes.
That's not cool. We need to reverse that. Furthermore, why in the fuck do we have private prisons in the first place?
Twiz, can you hear the host? That Don Julio put him to sleep.
Yeah,
It is Friday.
it is Friday. What you got, Anguish?
Oh, so Professor,
Oh, go ahead.
he admitted it. I think it's around 57 minutes in The Death of the Liberal Class. He recorded that in 2011.
I've read that book several times.
No,
I
I'm
don't
talking
never.
about the
I don't. I mean,
interview
I trust
about
you.
that.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. It's if you go to YouTube and look at the where they're getting interviewed about that. It was recorded on 3/30, 2011, because they asked him if he was a Marxist, and he said no. If anything, he's an anarchist.
if anything, yeah, he's not. I don't think he
I
is.
mean,
He's
when you say he's not,
that
wait,
sounds like something he would
hold on. I just
say.
want to be clear, because when you say you think he's not, and he literally says if anything he is, it kind of contradictory to who he says he is. That's kind of like when we're told we're black. I mean, we're not. We're African, and then we're by somebody else, but we say no, we're black, and you're like trying to force. You know what I mean? Like he said that, not either me or you. Like,
Yeah, yeah, I've been following him for years, and I mean, you might be right, but I'm just saying he's kind of sarcastic. Like that's
oh
some shit
no,
he would
he's
say.
not
Like,
sarcastic. He doesn't have a he's like at best a libertarian socialist, which to me is like a minarchist or a contradiction to begin with. I have my quarrels with him. So he's a hop, skip, and a jump away from an anarchist anyway. So I don't know why that would be such a crazy idea that he be an anarchist.
The
I don't
statement
think
that
it's
you
crazy.
said, as you said it, if it's a direct quote, sounds like a sarcastic comment.
Okay, but it's not if you know his ideals. So let's move past that.
And art much love, but Chris is one of my favorite scholars. I've read every. I got a pile of books in my house. I follow him for the last 10 years, and you might be right. He may be an anarchist, but I got obsessed with his shit at one point, and just it wouldn't make sense because he's a ordained minister, and I don't see
Wait,
in
wait,
the
wait. So
what
then,
Presbyterian.
do you know that there is no more? The most, if I had to put it in a percentage, most anarchists are religious zealots because they refuse to think that the state's any authority over their God. So the irony
I
of
mean,
that, I know,
you
but
might be
it's
right.
true. So that's not that kind of fits the alignment. Is all I'm getting at.
I mean, you might be right, bro. But
Let me bring
this is the
something.
first I'm hearing.
Let me bring something else up to you, Professor. I don't know if you all are aware of this, but Texas has already written legislation stating that if any, and I think they've aligned with five other red states, that if these states do initiate any form of reparative justice, that's what I'm calling it, or reparations to Black Americans, that they should forfeit federal money in the event of emergencies or I guess
You talking about HR
sundry.
4321?
Yeah, and because I'm talking about what was written here in Texas specifically, because that's what I posted, and this is where I live. So I'm already,
Yeah, Texas is crazy.
yeah, I'm already looking at it from a standpoint of my contention is they have known for a long time that we were going to eventually mount a reparations fight because it doesn't take a genius to see where we're going economically as an ethnicity. And it also doesn't take a genius to see that our economic state has been orchestrated ever since, quote, quote, emancipation, or rather, our transfer to the federal government.
Transfer, right?
Yeah, our transfer to the federal
Hell,
government.
there you go. Now,
Go
you know
ahead.
what? Historically, and even from a legal standpoint, in my pro se opinion, Andy, that makes sense to me because Texas is some stolen. No disrespect to your state, but Texas is some stolen
Yeah,
shit.
this ain't my
So it would
state.
make sense to
You
me.
know, I'm a Oklahoma. Then my grandmother's name was Estella, Texas, because you remember I told you about us being the Tennessee Mound people. So
Uh
I
huh.
finally realized why we're named like we're named. So my people were stolen as well. So we'll just leave it at that. Yes, Texas
Stolen.
stolen. I'm stolen. Literally, I come from
Yep.
stolen women. Um, my people in this state considers itself a country, as you know. Texas considers itself a country.
Yep.
And the reason why it gets to fly its flag on par with America is because was it the last to enter in as Republicans? And they, a republic, excuse me, and they demanded that they retain a certain amount of sovereignty in relation to federalism. So this is
Yep.
I've always said that Texas was a bellwether state when it came to politics, even more so than California. I'm not going to go into it now. This is just my analyzation. It doesn't have to be true. But for them to put forth that legislation lets me know that our claim is more than legitimate and it's actually brewing somewhere. What they're trying to do is mount a significant defense against it. Um, Help me out with this word, is it unilaterally? So I'm believing because they wrote that.
I think it's a preemptive
Yes,
defense.
Well,
it's a preemptive defense.
I would, if there is a preemptive uh, defense against it, it's just make more racist people because you'll never, as Black Wall Street already pointed out, you'll never be able to enforce any movement of money. You know what I mean? If you don't change the minds of the people, they'll just give you the money and then rob it back like they did Black Wall Street. And be like, oh well, you guys can get it back. We'll deputize you. Blah 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 blah. You know what I mean? Like,
But this is what we're saying when we say about the justice part of it. And I know when I use that word justice, it turns you off because you're thinking I'm talking about making nice. No, I'm talking about there must be legal ramifications and parameters already set in with a reparational claim like it is with other reparational claims. Now, you do realize I posted a library and I sent Wani a link and I sent Professor Allen a link about the reparations history within the United States. Now, me being a veteran, I already received a form of reparations, and I know that each state is allowed to construct how they're going to treat their veterans. So here in Texas, that means you don't pay taxes. You're exempt from certain things. You have what's called the Hazelwood Act. So if you miss the time period to utilize your MGIB, you get to use the Hazelwood Act. Those are parameters for veterans reparations here in the state of Texas. Now, if you can do that per state, we are intelligent enough to construct parameters needed to go with reparations. One of them is that reparations should not be taxed at the same level or in the same regards as capital gains. Um, and there are other things about that that other people much more uh, uh, sentient than me have already come up with. So I'm not going to repeat all that I can't remember, but I already know that this is in the plan for reparations. Okay, so when I say the word justice, I want you to know that I'm not using it as far as social justice. I'm talking about within only within the legal parameters. Because I'm just like you. You have to keep remembering you're talking to a black woman. I hope you don't think that I believe in justice. Okay. I hope you don't. My
No, no, no.
God, please don't think that.
What I find is that sometimes people create legality with not even necessarily a sense of morality, because I think we all could agree that slavery was legal, so there's no morality in it. But that just because something's legal, that it's going to happen. That is never. It was illegal to kill the people on Black Wall Street, and it happened. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So like, it's illegal to do a lot of stuff they do. Drop
No, art.
hundred thousand
It's
dollar bombs on brown skin that
okay.
makes less than $5 a day, right? Like, so I
Let me
mean,
share something with you. It's not illegal to kill black people. I thought you knew that, dear. It's not illegal. It's not against the law to kill black people. And I hope I don't.
Yep.
I hope I don't have. I
Unfortunately.
hope I don't have to prove this to you.
no, no, no. What I'm trying to
Um,
tell you is there's no
elaborate.
such thing. See, this is where this. Okay, let's put it this way: good people don't need laws. Bad people break them anyway. And so laws essentially have no real meaning outside of the what the social infrastructure will uphold, right? Like, and so basically, it's like you have this fictitious social contract that everybody willingly or unwillingly adheres to, and until you want to break said social contract, it's going to always exist. Outside of that scenario, what sides or who gets ripped off, we learn from the native treaties, they're not going to uphold any contract. Like, that's not, it's not what America does. If anything, it breaks
No,
contracts. So I
but
mean,
we're
There,
not.
there
We're
needs to
not.
be a
In,
full.
we're not
there need-
included in any social
Professor, you
contract. Is
there?
what I'm saying.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm here, bro.
Yeah, man. I think
Come on, English.
yeah. There needs to be a full stop, man. At this point, the integrity is in question. Of this conversation is in question. I don't even know how the other person continue to respond. I want to see. I like show and tell. I like to see this stuff. You know, we're all listening to this, and I'm shocked that this is going to this conversation is continuing after that statement that was made about it's not illegal to kill black people. I need I want to see that.
It's elaboration for real, cause shit, what?
Okay. The reason why I say it's
No,
not illegal to kill.
I don't. You said that you could show us. I want to see like
Yes,
any.
I'm getting
Yeah,
ready to
I don't
tell
need
you.
no. I don't want no opinions.
You're cutting me off. The reason why I say
Let's
it's
hear
not
let's hear it
illegal.
out, English.
The reason why I say it's not illegal to kill black people is because the police kill us and that state sanctioned, and they kill us under illegal means. So it's state
So
sanctioned
you're
murder.
referring to you're referring to qualified immunity.
I'm referring to qualified immunity, yes. And they're allowed to kill us and they're not punished for it.
No,
And if they are punished
there's
for it,
prerequisites for qualified. man, this is crazy right now because now it's uh, this is crazy, man.
Let's hear your counter, Anguish. What's your counter?
The bottom line is like, yo, that is people are taking perspective and they're trying to conflate it to mean it's law, and we can't do that. Like, for anyone to suggest that it's legal to kill black people, there needs to be some documentation, some legal support. You know, a document. That's what I'm looking for. She said that she would show us. So I want the black and white. Now, if you want to use qualified immunity, there's prerequisites for qualified immunity. You know what I'm saying? You
Enlighten
don't
us.
just kill a black person and then there's no investigation. You know what
Wait,
I'm
wait,
saying?
wait. So hold on, let me get this straight.
And then on top of that,
Hold on. Let's hear Anguish out.
there's different levels that qualified immunity is not applicable. That's what I'm saying. Like, this is crazy. You got federal, and then you also have state. Which when you talk about qualified immunity, are you talking about state level or federal level? Because if you kill a black person in cold blood, or you murder a black person, you're not getting away with it legally. You know what I'm saying? There has to be a whole investigation conducted, and if there's supporting evidence that you killed someone and it wasn't out of self defense or protection of or protection of another person, then you will be found guilty in the court of law. There is no way around that. The qualified immunity does not save you from that. That's not what it means. So for me, it seems like y'all, do you want me to go do the labor and go pull up how does the officer qualify fall into the context of
No,
qualified immunity,
I should
or
out
you're gonna
because I
do
see a lot of black
or
people being killed and nobody's being punished for it.
I hear both sides of the argument, and
this is
I
not an
think both of
argument,
y'all
bro.
have.
Like, it's not an argument. I'm this is nothing to argue. You
I
know what I'm
think the
saying?
I
problem
hear
with
both sides.
Anguish is that if he thinks it's in the law that it's somehow enforced for black people, there's a difference between being in the law and being enforced for black people. There's a difference.
Well, I hear both sides of the equation, and believe it or not, I'm in the middle. I agree with both sides because both of y'all have valid point. It's just not that. It's not that simple.
The reason why
Let me put it to.
officers the officers that have been tried, who went through who've been convicted, or excuse me, the officers who have been prosecuted, right? They went through they did go through due process. Now, the reason why they were not found guilty in these cases is because of poor representation. That's the problem in law, is
That poor
representation.
representation, it comes in the form of selective prosecution, and the way that the and the
Yeah,
way
that's
that
it. Vader. You
hang
stole
on,
it from
and the
me.
way that
Look. Then even
hang
in
on,
look,
English,
you have
hang,
Johnny Cock. Hold on, because I wasn't done. I didn't mute
Hold
up.
on.
I didn't mute
Let's
up.
hear Vader. He
I
stole
didn't
my
mute up.
thunder.
Johnny Cochran is in your title. All right. You ain't going. There ain't no challenge. If Johnny Cochran was alive today and he represented these victims, the officers that you claim have qualified immunity would be in fucking jail.
He would have tore their ass up. But Vader kind of stole my point. He beat me. He read my mind. So Anguish, I hear what you're saying, and according to what in law school what they call black letter law, you're correct. But what and the best way to explain what Andy's talking about, I could use a metaphor of a real event. So I sat on a grand jury. Well, I wasn't in it. I was a third year law student, but I was able to watch a grand jury that changed my life in 2011 in Birmingham, Alabama. It was a white DA. I'm not going to say his name. And it was some very serious crimes going on. We talking about murder, fucking strangulation, kidnap, like serious shit. And the grand jury, they had, what I'm saying, they've been indicted. They had evidence. And the grand jury sat around with this DA, this white male DA, and he would call names and say the crime, and the grand jury would either vote to bill or no bill. Bill means prosecute. No bill means leave it alone. and I saw racial politics play out in front of my eyes that helped diminish my belief in criminal law. The justiciability aspect of crim law in the state of Alabama. I saw white males who were guilty. I mean, who were indicted on some very egregious shit. The assistant ADAs had fucking evidence, dude. I saw a wink and a nod and no bail, no bail, no bail. But the black dude got billed. It don't take a law degree to see that. But you know what? That was perfectly legal. What you said. That's due process. But in my opinion, I'm who am I? But I don't think if you have fucking evidence on somebody and they've been indicted, I don't think you should be able to just no bill them. But the legal system, at least in the state of Alabama, allows that grand jury to decide if they want to prosecute and not prosecute. And I saw racial selection in that grand jury room. So it's real great.
Well, then
There's a
there's something that
combination.
you file called then there's something that you file called challenge of jury, and you can file that.
Yeah, true.
You know what I'm saying? But that's something the legal attorney should know. I mean, and honestly, for us as Black people, considering that there is resources that's allocated and more focused on prosecutors, it's kind of like it should be not a moot point, but it should be implied, considering the circumstances that we're put in, and we've seen cases, which is legal process. If it was legal, if them killing Black people is legal, they wouldn't even have to go to court. But in these scenarios, it's incumbent on us to be more privy with what motions need to be filed, and understanding these different motions, the plethora of motions, is also incumbent on us as people to be understanding of what different challenges could be filed, and to
And
understand what when you go to like when you go to court, it's the same thing as you going to go to a bank, right? You understand how transactions work. You know how to read your
yeah,
balance. You know,
currency.
right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing in the court. You have to know the positions, what a grand jury is, what an indictment is, what a pretrial is, all of this, everything. You should know that stuff. You should be studying that stuff, and and whereas I can understand how there's processes in law that creates unfair trials, there's no way in the world that I'll ever agree that it's legal to kill a Black person, because that's not true. That statement is what I'm contesting. Even in your explanations, you're still showing that it wasn't legal to kill a Black person. It was that the Black person didn't have equivalent or representation or the wherewithal to do what they were supposed to do. And that Black person should do exactly like they do with a doctor. A doctor gives you an opinion about what is problematic, whatever. You understand the issues in medicine. So you go get another opinion, even a
Second
third
opinion.
opinion.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that this came up because this went full circle to the beginning of this room. Did Johnny Cochran die working on a reparations lawsuit? So before most of you came in, we were discussing this, and we looked. The answer is yes, but we looked into a case that a lot of people cite, a lot of legal scholars cite, to argue that we don't need reparations. It's the Komatsu, I think I'm saying that right, versus the United States. The Japanese reparation claim. And the argument, which is ridiculous, by the way, is that Komatsu got reparations because he was still alive. He experienced harm and he still was alive, which is just the bullshit claim. But that's not my point at all. My point, I'm glad we went full circle to this because what we did discover is the little golden piece of gold out of the Komatsu case is about four attorneys, that Japanese young attorneys, took that case on pro bono just to make a point to defend their own people. And the conclusion we had early on in this space is we need more black attorneys, just like you were saying, Anguish. We need some Johnny Cochrans up in this motherfucker. That's not looking for a bag, not looking for posing for the gram, not looking to be on fucking TV in their new suit. We need some young, newly barred attorneys to get up and
What you
fight for
really mean,
reparations.
Professor, is somebody that is prepared to get assassinated. Okay.
Well, sometimes that's what it takes.
Good luck getting
King,
that guy.
King did. King got assassinated. You know what I'm saying? Dr. King knew. He said he knew he was gonna die. He said, "I seen the mountaintop." He
Yeah, yeah,
knew. He
but
knew what
what
was
I'm
gonna
saying
happen.
is that what I'm trying to point out is, man, liberators, and and there's arguments that can be made based on Martin Luther King's own speeches that he was an anarchist. You keep bringing up a lot of anarchists, and so like you're not going to get these liberators
I'm
people
gonna leave that
like
alone, Art.
you know what I mean, like people want, you can't, okay, like you either want liberation or participation. And so what I say is when there's a group of when it's critical mass, when you have the Black Panthers, Fred Hampton. So this is why you got liberators, because the general populace wanted liberation, not participation. And so it made the leaders to fit the times. The reason why we keep getting coons is because those are the leaders that fit the time. Nobody wants liberation. They want participation. And so you're going to get coons. Cuz that's what I mean, that fits the
I think
moment.
nobody's a strong term, but I will say a lot of people are looking for participation. Highland, what you got?
What's up, professors? Thank you for that face,
What's up,
goddamn.
bro?
But these people tripping, man. I was in another space and they were arguing about uh, Tariq Nasheed and goddamn you vet ADOS versus FBA, and I'm new to all this information, and I'm FBA or, but in my opinion, they're both. So I know it doesn't apply to Johnny Cochran, but I feel like in order for us to get to a common place, forget reparations and all the stuff wrong that we've been through, we need to get together, man, for real, and especially thinking of the future, like because my grandfather was a U.S. drill sergeant in the army, and my mom was a nurse. I went in the medical field thinking that was going to help our people because of how they are treated in the hospital and whatnot. So, but especially what you were hitting on right now, man, like lawmakers or politicians for sure is what we need to really study on. And I'm sorry if I'm like acting crazy, but I'm a little sipped out.
No, you
I'm on the
good,
fire
bro.
water, you know what I'm saying? I'm Native American, come on, FBA type
It's
shit.
Let me ask you something, Professor
it's
Harlan.
Friday.
Is it
Go
is
ahead.
it possible to crowdsource a suit that could argue itself?
You say that one more time. Is it able to do what?
No, I'm asking Professor
Oh,
Allen
okay.
because I would like to know
Oh,
this
oh,
from a
okay.
profession, from a legal standpoint. Is it possible for us to construct a suit that could argue itself?
What you talking about without you can well what I think is it won't argue itself. Some people do pros. It's called pro se. I mean, without you're doing it on your own without counsel. But I think what you're talking about is a class action,
Yes.
like for a large group
Thank
of
you.
people.
Is it possible for
I'm gonna
us
have to
to
look into that. I
construct
think
that?
you're gonna need counsel with a class action.
Okay, so even if we were to have counsel, um, could we construct a class action suit that could be representative, but maybe not necessarily need a Johnny Cochran or a Thurgood Marshall? Do you think we could
I
produce
the,
something like that?
the honest answer, the honest answer is I don't know, but I really don't think so. And I'm gonna go so far as to say this: if that was possible, I don't, for whatever it's worth, in my pro se opinion, I don't think it would be a good idea because you're dealing with games and it's not what it seems. It's all games. Kind of like what Angus was saying earlier about you got to stand this way and it's layers to this shit.
Well, I know you have to
It's
defend a
layers.
dissertation, but is it possible to construct a dissertation that even in its defense, you wouldn't have to defend it strenuously?
Well, what I would do, I don't know. I'm gonna have to look in. I don't think so. Um, what I've seen done before is people come together and formulate their own action, and then finding somebody, a young lawyer to represent. Say, hey, we got something for you. Here you go. Sign your name. You need that signature. Everything in America is about a damn signature.
But even with that said, the amount of work research, documentation that would go into a reparations class action lawsuit. If there were enough people contributing to that, would that help?
I'm gonna have to look into. I've never heard of a class action without counsel. I never heard. I'm sure it's been one, but in with respect to our reparations, we gonna need some fire. We gonna need some you know top build. We gonna need some Johnny Cochrans. That's what it's going. And they out there. They're out there. They're just not getting attention because a lot of our sellout class get attention. That's by design. The media, like yesterday when I was talking about manufacturing consent, these jokers out here arguing on our behalf, and I'm not even just talking about lawyers. Who elected? What's that motherfucker's name that got a perm? Al Sharpton. He's been manufactured. That dude has been spit out the system to talk. Somebody was telling me about Ferguson. This years ago when the young man got killed in Ferguson. Somebody's I used to be in Memphis. I just moved to Atlanta, but I was in Memphis for years, and Memphis is not that far away from St. Louis. And so that story got to Memphis real fast, and they were talking about how when that young man got killed, um, Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson like flew in right quick. They were manufactured by the system, manufactured to come represent us, to quash the uprising, to come say, "Hey, I'm praying for you. The Lord's gonna handle this. Stop protest." But I heard in Memphis at the moment they got there, that somebody ran their ass back up out of there. You know what I'm saying? Um, that's what it's gonna take. It's gonna take, the grassroots coming together and just saying no to these sellout classes. You know what I'm saying? Not letting people elect people for us. I was watching a documentary with Dick. I used to love Dick Gregory, man. If he's, he was an inspiration to me. And Dick Gregory was talking about when King got shot, which is a whole. That's gonna be a whole space because I got some shit. I got I say Dr. Reverend Ralph Abernathy's autobiography. A librarian gave it to me for free, and it just kind of outlines what, if you read in between the lines, you see what happened to King. That's, you know what, I'm gonna make a space on that. It's done. But anyway, my point is, when King got assassinated in Memphis, Dick Gregory, a millionaire back then, said he couldn't get a flight out of Memphis, and he found out that when King got hit, every flight in Memphis was canceled but one. It was only one flight leaving Memphis, and it was full of FBI agents and FBI people. But guess who made it on that flight with the FBI people? Jesse Jackson. So how did he get on that flight? Again, Dick Gregory was a millionaire. He couldn't get on the flight. That tells you a whole bunch. You know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna say that for another space. Anguish, what you got, bro?
I was hoping that you didn't go too far because I didn't want to violate the stage because the other point that I'm sick of hearing, and I think that people need to refrain from throwing stuff around if they have even done bare minimum research, conducted any level of or efforts to really understanding what they're saying. Qualified immunity that's been thrown around this year, and it seems like people have bit onto this fair tactic. But qualified immunity is not applied in criminal court. It's literally it's a legal doctrine that protects government officials, including police officers, from civil lawsuits. You know what I'm saying? And it's only protection for actions performed within their official capacity. But if they violate a clearly established statutory or constitutional rights, it does not shield them from criminal prosecution.
I actually
And
know
and,
what it
and you can
means,
and you can
and,
look
and
and you
I'm
can
and I'm
look.
gonna I'm gonna
I'm
stand
not
on
talking
that.
to you, but like you didn't want me to cut you off. Please don't cut me off. So if you go to Section 1983 of the Civil Rights Act, it allows individuals to sue for violations of their constitutional rights. Again, qualified immunity only applies to civil cases.
Well, for the record, I'm the one who brought up qualified immunity.
No, no, no,
So
no. No, it was something said yeah, yeah. The audience heard everything. You know what I'm saying? Because I seen all the thumbs downs and stuff, and I thought somebody was gonna stop it.
Do you know the
And
conviction rate on cops? Because I think that squashes this whole mood argument.
Yeah, because they really want to kill us, they can kill us, bro.
Yeah,
So
no,
Andy had a
no, no.
it,
point,
it's
Let's
it,
just get the
especially in the South.
conviction rate.
that has
Hold,
nothing to do with
it's a
hold on.
shade of
illegal.
gray.
Wait. Let's get the conviction rate on cops to any other group. Literally
Yeah,
any other group.
you can look at the conviction rate on cops, and you can also see that they have resources.
Yeah, I'm just saying you can pick your poison
So you
group.
can't take that. You can't take that
But
out.
I
You
need
can't
to
take
know
that.
that I
You
need to
can't take
know the
that.
conviction rate compared
Go
to
look it
any
up.
other
What you
group.
like? You trying? What are you saying?
There should be an average,
Hey,
right? There should be
hold up,
some
hold
kind of
up.
breakdown of an average, right?
I think we're splitting hairs here.
Right, like
We're
yeah,
I believe it.
like you sounding more moronic by the minute.
What do you mean
D-
moronic? I don't think
because
the
you're trying
cops
to
are
support
God,
this
sir.
notion.
So I think
Hey, no. That's not my space. I don't do arguments. This is scholarship only.
Well,
I'm gonna
then why
say,
do they keep?
that's what I'm saying. I just said bring up
Well,
stats. You sound like you're mad you don't want
hold
to
on.
bring up the
Let,
Professor?
let
stats.
let's
Why are you
So
allowing two
we
people
could.
to?
hold on. All right, we're gonna go with anguish for. I'll give him 20 seconds. Well, I give him 30 seconds, and then I give you a 30-second response. All right, starting now.
Yeah,
Go ahead, anguish. Maybe a double mute. You there?
yeah. This is double mute. I didn't come here to argue with nobody. Um,
No, you good.
yeah,
You good.
I was just saying my piece, and I was interrupted twice, and I don't really care about none of that nonsense. The fact is that I'm speaking against this idea that is legal to kill a black person, right? That's some nonsense, utter nonsense, in its purest form. And the second, that somehow qualified immunity has some level of bearing when a cop commits a crime. For that notion or that narrative to be spread, right? Only will further allow people to perpetuate this idea that they don't have no way to defend themselves or go toe to toe in a legal battle, and that's just not the case. What has
Gotcha.
to be better, what has to be done on our end is to see what you're up against and understand how, like, what, like, all of the parts. Like, you have to understand what a jury is, you have to understand what a prosecutor is and what their duty is, you have to understand what the judge is, and a prosecutor and a defense attorney, what they have to do is come up with a process or a way to validate whatever the claim is, or to push back against the claim, um, or the to yield a decision, right? And that decision in the jury is, I forgot how many, is what, like 12 or 16, 12 people or something. Yeah, I know
12.
there's a difference between a grand jury and a jury and all that stuff, but and there's also a jury that chooses to indict someone or not too, right? They have to,
Right.
but and
That's the
and I
grand
don't
jury.
have, yeah,
Well, no. You
yeah, yeah.
indictment. You're right.
I
You're
don't
right.
have I don't have a legal background. I've just fought and won cases, what I'm saying, against police officers at that, in Gwinnett County. You know what I'm saying? So I just did my own research. And then, of course, when it comes down to legal representation, you are supposed to tell them what you want. And if they can't deliver what you want, or they're not going to push for what you want, or give some level of I would say, give some level of or reason to allow you to be confident in what they can offer or services that they can yield, then you find someone else who can. And if you never could, then you need to be that person. Unfortunately, that's called self-representation. But at the end of the day, we're not, like, we can't push this narrative if we're talking about, you know, getting out this burden that's on top of us, because ignorance is the worst enemy.
Yeah. I'm gonna say what you said was actually true, but however, the reality of well, let me be specific. What you said was true with respect to, if what your counsel is saying is not right, then you need to go ahead and fire his ass and find somebody else. Yeah, that's, and if you can't find anybody else, represent yourself. I could do that, and I think you could do that too. But the reality of it is, most of our people um, are so intimidated by that process. The these people in this process are just, they're not really ethical. I had a Let me tell you what type of people you're dealing with. My criminal procedure professor in law school, a blonde lady, I'm not going to say her name. She bragged to us one day in class because somebody came to the DA, came to her office with some. Uh, she said, and she complained. There was a lady, kind of an ignorant lady, came to her and was like, "Ma'am, yesterday I got a drug problem. I smoked some crack and it made me real sick. It almost killed me. And I want you to arrest the guy who sold me that crack." And this lady said, "Okay, well, first I'm gonna need some of that crack. So could you do me a favor and go get some of that crack and then bring a picture of him with you?" So she's like, "Yes, ma'am, I'll go get some crack." And I bring, this lady was kind of like mentally challenged. So the lady went and got some of that crack. It was bad crack, bad dope, and had a picture of the dude and came back to the DA's office, and she arrested her, then went and arrested the dude. They play all type of games with folk. Now that's just a real simple kindergarten game, but our people are intimidated by these people. Furthermore, Anguish, retainers for good counsel in Birmingham, a normal retainer is $10,000. So if you retain somebody, that's some bullshit. Let's say he charged 5 grand for a retainer, which is more money than most of us on this app have in our bank account, and he turns out to be some bullshit. Do you got another 5 grand to retain somebody? What I'm trying to say is, although what you're saying is true, the reality of it, and I've seen this play out time and time again, our people, especially our young people, are just straight up fucking intimidated by the whole process. You're in trouble. You know what I'm saying? You don't have any money. The police can detain you for 48 hours, I think, unless the rules change, and threaten you. And most of the time, they get deals in the detainments because you're a child and you're scared half to death. But you did bring up some good points, though. I think Art, then Andy.
Yeah, I'm in absolute awe after you look at America's history that people have some kind of trust in the 82% white Hispanic military, or the 81%, or give or take plus or minus percent, police that are white Hispanic. You have a lot of trust in the white Hispanics enforcing these laws, but I digress. Um, Police officers are prosecuted for murder in less than 2% of the fatal shootings. If you contrast that with any other group, I promise you, you do not get 2%. The probability based on their proximity to crime being 2% is astronomically low. You probably get hit by lightning a couple times. So, like, I don't know if people know about statistics, and I'm going to add and probability, because a lot of the per cracketas don't do probability, and there becomes why they can do these weird 13% of the population makes up blah blah blah. Yes, because that proves targeting, jackass. 13% of the population also makes up 54% of the overturned convictions. And when you go into the probability that was it, like 2.55% of the population makes up 5% of the prison population without bias, the probability of that is nil. So um, the probability of there only being 2% cops in this scenario is also next to nil. So especially their proximity to crime. And so, like, I don't think we actually want to do the math and numbers here. We just want to speculate and worship the powers to be, which you would call law, uh, as some form of God. And to me, it's not. Like I said, good people don't need laws. Bad people break them anyway. They're just there for, they're just really just there for, just being blatantly honest. Because bad people aren't like, oh, let me not break this law before I break this law, or because, or let me even think about this fucking law before I not break the law. Like, nobody does that. So really, laws are just for law-abiding citizens who are dumb enough to follow it. If we want to be honest, because I assure you, criminals aren't. Hence, the police are the biggest criminal. What did Tupac say? The Democrats, that's a gang. The Republicans, that's a gang. The police and correctional officers, Those are gangs. Those are the biggest gangs. America was built on gangs. So all you doing is picking a gang and telling me that they're not criminals. Like at 2% conviction rate. Like, come on, man. You think I'm boo boo the fool? And then this is before you get that half the crime isn't reported, the other half isn't even solved. Okay, so all the crime, the picture of the crime that you're actually seeing is actually less than 18% because it's under 50%. It's less than half, right? And so it's like 18.5% of crime is solved. So there's 82.5%. And then when you can talk to an AI if you want to, but given the proximity to crime of the police, what are the odds that 82.5% of the crime that's left over is police themselves? Especially with the black population being so heavily locked up, they're less likely than the cops, believe it or not, to be convicted of that 82.5%. And so we need to put this shit in perspective when we are praising these assholes. So just food for thought. And that's all math. I can literally break down all the math, give you .gov sources, and let you calculate it yourself. You don't even have to believe me.
Believe it or not, and as a neutral party, I don't think y'all are disagreeing. I think y'all are just kind of not misunderstanding each other. Both sides of this equation are very passionate about what you know about your points. Men's had some really good points. You had some really good points, but what y'all are not seeing uh, is shades of gray. Well, let me see, let me qualify what I'm saying. What I'm saying is this is more complicated than that. An attorney I really looked up to when I worked in the corporate. I worked in creditors' rights. We represented a hospital, and well, maybe I shouldn't talk about that. But anyway, I really looked up to this dude that he graduated from Cornell Law School. This sucker was sharp, and I was asking him how do things work, and he said something I'll never forget. He said it's good to know the law. He said that's real good, but it's better to know the judge. That told me a whole lot because a lot of times, and it's gonna be hard to hear, but a lot of time, and this is not just with the legal world. This is really with anything that's relative to power. It's more about who you play golf with than what it say in the book. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't want to hear that, but that's what it is. Andy, what you got?
Now, I understand why he's upset because I didn't say it with any nuance. But when I said it's legally acceptable, it starts at the social level because that's how laws are made. It's what society gets together and says, this is and this is not acceptable. And what we base that on is the conviction rate. So just like Art pointed out, less than 2% of police officers are prosecuted for black murder by police. You have entire police in California that operate as gangs. I haven't heard of them being arrested yet. You have police officers on tape in Oklahoma talking about a hole that they throw black people in. You have graveyards in Mississippi outside of prisons where black people are buried. You have an unbelievable amount of black death in prisons and in federal prisons, and they're not investigated. You have a lot of uninvestigated black deaths that we know law enforcement is involved in. So when I make that comment that it's legal to kill a black person. That's directly what I'm referencing because it is the legal system that excuses them.
Yeah, so yeah, I see again. I don't think y'all are really disagreeing. You're saying that. So can I? Is it okay for me to kind of paraphrase you, Andy? Is that okay?
Of
Okay,
course,
so what Andy, what you're saying is, um, very frequently members of the law enforcement and legal world get away with killing black people. So I think he's saying making a statement like it's legal to kill. I see both what y'all are saying. This is a semantic thing. That's all it is.
but not
Um,
really. And I know what he's saying, but it's there are far too many cases of civilians killing black people and they're not prosecuted. When he's saying you don't know your rights and stuff, tell me how Atiana Jefferson was supposed to defend herself. She's dead. I mean, the people he's talking about who that he's saying, they're incapable or they're unknowledgeable about defending themselves. I'm talking about black people who are murdered and the recompense is not equitable. If any charges are brought in most of the cases against us when we're murdered. So whether you say it's legal or you want to use some other type of framing, it is not um, punishable. It is not as punishable. It is not as big a deal when black people are murdered. And that's why I said it's legal. Lynching is still taking place. We're still finding black people hung from trees. We're still finding black people missing their organs. There's no investigation. There's very little media attention to that. So if it's not legal, then what else would you call it?
Yeah, again, it's a nuance. I hear what you're saying. What you just said made me think of the late great Alton Maddox, the criminal defense attorney Alton Maddox. Alton Maddox lost his law license because he wouldn't get corrupted. Like again, it's good to know the law, like my friend said, but it's better to know the judge. Alton was representing a black dude in a small town for murder, and he was sure the boy was innocent, and he was about to tear the courtroom up. And Alton walked up to the bench, and the judge called a recession and said, "Maddox, come to my chambers." And Attorney Maddox went to his chambers, and the judge was there, and the prosecutor was there. And the judge looked at Alton in his eye and said, "Boy, get the fuck out of here. That boy's your client's about to plead guilty." And he said, "No, sir, I'm representing him. He's not gonna plead guilty. Matter of fact, I'm about to get him off." And he said, "Maddox, I just told your ass that you about to get. Just go ahead, go have your drink. That boy about to plead guilty." Basically, Attorney Maddox was being told, threatened that the politics of that small neighborhood wanted to convict a black dude. Now, was law broken? Uh, I don't know. That's questionable, but it's so many shades of gray to this. And I hear what Men's is saying. The letter of the law is really clear. Um, but is everybody ethical? Not really. But then again, to Men's point, you should have counsel that can handle that. But my counter would be, we can't. Who can afford those type of attorneys? I don't know. I don't know a solution to this. Men's, what you got?
Yeah. um. So there's people out there, jackasses and boo boo the fools. The reason why the reason why you say that we're not disagreeing is because what I'm contesting is not being addressed. If you listen, what was spoken about is prison population, which is like 460,000 of us, Black Americans. Only 460 some change thousand. All right. Secondly, somehow this has been conflated to showing some level of support or like calling police Superman and all of this nonsense. None of that was relative to anything I spoke on. You know what I'm saying? And that's the problem. Like, speaking on opinions and stuff and not addressing things with facts. Here's the deal. The same way a black person is likely to be pulled over because black people can't afford proper representation or nor do they know better on their legal rights. They're likely to not make complaints when they're pulled over compared to other populations. Of course, less problems for police departments, less investigations from the DOJ and so forth. So this issue of misrepresentation in court is not because killing black people is legal. You know what I'm saying? And that's the original statement that I heard, and it's a problematic statement. And secondly, it's not because of the protections or what she said. She has said qualified immunity. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the reaction or the response that I got was talking about lynchings and talking about um, a woman being killed in a kitchen. and talking about, stuff that's not relative to the conversation. You know what I'm saying? So that's why there's
In
no
your
disagreement.
opinion.
Excuse me, can you stop cutting me off?
Hold on, Andy. I'm gonna let you
Like
respond.
Jesus Christ, like have some control. It's crazy, man. Complain about somebody interjecting, and then you cut people off constantly. So it comes down to this affordability. That's the root problem. You can't find good representation because you highlighted this, professor. An attorney that costs $10,000 versus $5,000, which people can't afford. And how can you hold the court, accountable for their actions when you have a lawyer that's not doing their job, or you're not holding accountable, that's not bringing the facts to the table, that's not bringing the evidence to the table, or missing different motions that should have been made. Basically not. And guess what? There is a response to that too. You know what I'm saying? You could go to the bar and complain if you knew that you had a still shut case. That's also not what's not happening in the black community. You know what I'm saying? When lawyers are not representing them to the best of their ability, and you could allude that to ignorance as well, that's the only thing you could allude to, is because you didn't know better. So the lawyer basically misrepresented you in your case, and you could get it retried and all that stuff if you have good supporting evidence that you was not represented to the best of the ability of the lawyer, and that happens a lot. And you could literally file a complaint with the bar association. They could be suspended and even have their their license revoked.
Yeah, can be disbarred.
Yeah,
And
but
but here
what
goes the.
world are we fucking living in? Black
These people have no
Hold on,
control,
Black
hold on,
man.
hold on.
August
Art,
just got
Jackasses
Art.
over. Like,
and
Hey, Art. Hold on. Andy was next. And then we'll come to you when
yeah,
men's is
yeah.
done.
I'm gonna leave it there because, like I said, I ain't trying to turn your room into a shit show or nothing like that, man.
No, it's
Yeah,
not. It's not gonna
nah,
go there.
because
We can disagree.
jackasses and boo boo the fools are out here, so I'm gonna leave it alone.
Well, people have differences of opinion. Now, what I will comment on what you said is, yeah, you can write a complaint, and I've known people to get. I know somebody got disbarred from a complaint, but here goes the thing: you got to write a letter to a lot of bar associations. I bet you all of them, but I'm not. I don't know all of them. I know most of them. You have to respond with a formal letter. So then that becomes, can everybody write a letter? You know, Andy, your response.
Yes, since we're all jackasses and boo-boos, I don't know who Sonia Massey was going to complain to. She was murdered, as was her nephew murdered by the police. I think this person is unable to understand anything. There's nobody we can appeal to outside of who's appointed to protect us. The same police department who murdered Sonia also murdered her toddler nephew. This is what I'm talking about when I made the comment that it's illegal to murder us. Because if it was not, her nephew would still be alive. The toddler posed no threat to a police officer. Why was he murdered? He was murdered because that's how they value Black lives. And if you can't understand nuance, perhaps you shouldn't be in a space.
Andy, you're the biggest fool on this app, man. Get out of here with that nonsense. Don't
Kiss
try
my
to
ass.
insult me.
Chill out.
Don't.
Men's. Hold on. It's her time
Yeah,
to
but she
respond, man.
insulted me. You didn't say nothing about that, so she yielded that, and she muted it.
Let's keep the pejoratives. We don't have to do that.
The biggest dummy
We
on the
did. I
app,
dis I disagree with a
old
lot
ass
of
dummy.
people, but yeah. Let's not do that. Art, you had a response. Hey, well, hold on, Andy, were you done?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. Art, and then Highland. Or while we wait on Art, go ahead,
wait,
Highland.
wait. Look,
Oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
man. First of all, it's like I don't say these stats. Like 2% of the cops are convicted. 13% of the population makes up 54% of the overturned convictions. It's like these numbers don't exist to certain people, and it's just like, bro, if we can't do numbers, and you just want to wish upon a star, believe that justice is the right way. We just left Black August. For those who don't know what it was made predominantly for freedom fighters.
Oh, that's right. Nobody gives a fuck about freedom fighters anymore. That's why you don't hear about Black August. But it started with George Jackson, who literally did a life sentence because $70. So like, bro, like, to me, it's just like, are we so disillusioned with the system that you actually think it works for you? If you do, what I challenge anybody to do is make it through Malcolm X's message to the grassroots, the whole thing, not just part of the thing, the whole thing from top to finish. And if you're still saying our government after that, I don't know what to tell you. You must have missed something and probably need to listen to it again. It is the government. It's not our government. That's foolish. There's no proof of that. If you think there's proof of that, show me. Because if for every evidence you'll show me, I'll even 2 to 1 you. You done, Art? Yeah, because I really like to see proof that this is our government uh, at a 2 to 1 ratio, which means I'll provide two sources for you every one. Well, I will comment on this issue. Again, this is more complex than we're making it. It's nuanced. There are levels to this, and you know what? Believe it or not, I'm even. Me and Art disagree like a motherfucker, but I'm gonna actually give Art some credence. You know what I'm saying? Um, there's truth in that. There's truth in everything y'all are saying, but when you try to, we're dealing with how many 50 states that got different. Every state has a different constitution. They have different protocols. Like the issue I brought up earlier with Alabama and the grand jury. There were no. I was in that grand jury hearing. There were no defense attorneys in that grand jury, and why would there be? Um, I'm not sure if the state rules allow the defense attorneys to be present at um, a grand jury. Grand juries are like hush hush, secret as hell in Alabama. So my point of bringing this up is it depends on the rules of the state. Everything depends. Um, I used to get in trouble in law school because I was a know-it-all. I would always answer some shit. It was like an immediate no. But what I learned is, it depends. Everything's dependent on politics, the region, the rules. Everything depends. In some areas, unfortunately, young people, y'all might, unfortunately, people, there are certain places that are just corrupt as a motherfucker. I'm not gonna name them, but what I will say is I just moved from Memphis. Dot dot dot. You know what I'm saying? Um, let's go with Anguish.
Oh yeah, man. I'm just gonna leave it at this, right? Again, another argument that is not made. Talking about numbers and stuff. Believe me, I know the numbers far better than you ever. Yeah, you're late. You're Johnny come late. When it comes down to Malcolm X, Malcolm X spoke a lot. If you actually listen to his speeches, on not that the government didn't protect us, it was him saying that we need to make more of choices that would make the government uphold the law and hold them accountable. It wasn't that they're not our government and all this other nonsense you talking about. All of his levels of activism was literally involvement in an effort to enforce the government to apply the law equally. Now, that's a big, far difference than saying that we're legally allowed to be killed by police officers. Yes, y'all keep bringing up Sonia Massey. Has that police not been indicted? That officer not been indicted? Is that officer not in jail? If it was legal for the officer to kill black people, that officer not would not have been prosecuted. So it's like you're stacking up stuff that's literally against the whole purpose of me even saying something. You're saying that it's legal to kill black people, yet the police officer that killed a black person is in jail right now, being prosecuted right now. Um, Now as far as like the stats, there's reasons for that. When you have people that tolerate this type of behavior, and furthermore, people that allow their child to be killed. And and when I say allow, I'm not saying allow in the state of kill. I'm talking about basically the child being killed and them not doing nothing about it, in sake of, maybe an agreement deal for civil lawsuit and so forth, because we know some of these families that lost their children to police have taken had to agree to not cause any civil unrest and so forth, so they really kind of refrain from speaking out to people. Like, we've had a mother tell us not to act out, not to react and everything and so forth, let the judge or let the court handle this and so forth. But what really should have happened is, Zimmerman should have been dead. You know what I'm saying? And anybody else that, what I'm saying, that's a rational decision for me. When if a police officer touches my child, that police officer is going to die, and I'm okay with making that statement, because that is my duty to protect my child, and it's my duty to do anything necessary that I feel fit if someone harms my child. All deals are off. But because that doesn't happen, yes, you do have stats that's a growing disparity, where there's offenses that happen and there's no accountability, and no one being upheld to the highest kind of law. Even when it comes down to a police officer doing us dirty at a traffic stop, we don't follow protocol on to have that police officer investigated, or to sue that police officer, which you all are entitled to do, and other measures that could be taken. You know what I'm saying? With that being said, again, the numbers and the figures, that was never the discussion I'm having. My discussion is that this notion, and this is the third time I'm saying it, the third time speaking, this notion that it's legal to kill black people is not true. Is false. And this whole and the qualified immunity, which was also used to substantiate this claim that it's legal to kill black people, is not even applicable. So, that again, that's what I'm addressing. Everything else, like I said, like you said, Professor, there is no disagreement, because that's not what I was talking about. I made it very clear what I was talking about. So I'm gonna rest there. It has nothing to do with nuances and all of that nonsense. I hate that freaking word. Uh, nuances. No, this is clear cut. It's not legal to kill black people. Murder black people. It's not.
Well,
I think we got that
I'm
like
not
20
gonna
minutes
argue
ago. I think
that.
we all understand that. But okay, sorry for
Well,
interrupting, Professor.
Uh,
Please.
yeah.
J
Whether you
J
agree with,
five, let's hear you.
Uh,
Oh, I'm coming. J5 then Andy.
okay, so I think Professor he touched on it a little bit. The difference between black letter law and what happens outside of black letter law, which is where I think Art and Andy are coming from. They're coming from and not so much Art either, because Art is talking about what happens outside of black letter law, but he's still trying to provide proof of that, with via statistics. Um, the best example that I could point to, is the example that Anguish, I believe, brought up when it comes to police stops. Now, there are black letter laws and regulations they should abide by when they pull us over, but oftentimes we found out that these police officers are in basically a gang. There's white supremacist police officer gangs that exist all throughout the country. So they're operating on a set of rules and regulations outside of that black letter law, as well as in the courtroom. He brought up a great example about the grand jury. Like, there are certain keys and things they will say that triggers a law or a set of rules outside of black letter law. So yes, you are right. On paper, it's not legal to kill black people, but for the law of the land, which is white supremacy, not written in black letters, it it could perfectly be legal to kill a black person without no punishment. And I land.
I got a student. One of my students is a. I'm very proud of this kid. He's a police officer. Um, Well, I'm not even gonna say the place, but he's a police officer, young, real young police officer, and he was telling me, speaking of rules and how you get around rules. Well, he hadn't done nothing. This child ain't done nothing wrong, but he was just talking about the game. And he said in this place where he's a police officers are allowed to turn off their camera for like 30 seconds or something like that for a readjustment. So imagine what some of those police officers do if you piss them off. They readjust their camera, and it's perfectly legal. Andy,
Well, what I'm going to say about addressing the black letter law is if it wasn't legal to kill black people, we wouldn't have lynching bills. And I'm going to leave that there. Philando Castile was killed by a police officer doing a regular stop, and he had violated no law. Also, since I interjected Sonia Massey, her grandfather was lynched in that same state. She was murdered, and her nephew was murdered. So we're seeing generational murders of people in just one case. If it were illegal not to kill black people, we wouldn't even be discussing this.
Andy, this sounds like the title of a space. Is it legal to kill black people? I'm
I
gonna
know,
bring you and Men's in
I know it does, but
there.
just don't bring me with anger.
Um, I want to read this quick excerpt because this, and when I read this, I'm going to express that participators in the system shouldn't speak on people that were against it because they don't know shit. I would not. I'm not. When it comes to the if it was a hardcore coon, hell, I don't speak on W.E. Du Bois because I think he's a coon. Shout out to you if you like him. You know what I mean. I'm not gonna speak on him. You never hear me speak on him. But when it comes to liberators, I guarantee nobody in this room is more of a scholar on that than me. Period. Hands down. Your ideology don't spell liberation. So anyway, I'm gonna read. This is Martin's words himself, and I also posted a video so you could hear him say it and not me, just in case you wanted to hear him say it and not me. He says, "I'm a field Negro. The masses are the field Negroes. When they see this man's house on fire, you don't hear these little Negroes talking about our government is in trouble. They say the government is in trouble. Imagine a Negro, our government. I even hear one say our astronauts. They won't even let him near the plant. And our astronauts, our Navy, that's a Negro that's out of his mind. That is a Negro that is out of his mind. And that's why I said, please listen to messages of grassroots, to the grassroots in its whole entirety before making any comment about what you think Malcolm X is about.
I think it's good. Thank you, Art. I think it's good that we're having this dialogue because it's very thought provoking and it's very interesting. It's um, although y'all are right on both sides. I would agree with Anguish that it's according to what I know about the law. I don't think it says it's legal anywhere, but I hear Andy's point is philosophical. It's not black letter. It's a philosophical point that has equal merit. So y'all just gave me an idea for another room.
I think we're fighting to get ingratiated into the law to where the law finally provides for us some of the tenets of the Constitution.
Yeah,
Yeah, Professor. I was gonna do the do the after I literally wrote in my notes so I wouldn't forget. I was gonna have that topic in the Black Good Morning Black America space, but if you're gonna do the room,
dude, invite
yeah,
me. No, you do it.
nah,
Just
nah,
invite
real
me.
talk, because you said it first. So I was like, damn man, did I send that to him or something? But I literally wrote it in my notes because I was like, I got some shouting out to do, and I was like, what a good morning Saturday, I'm saying conversation to have about that because, but for you, you said you wanted to do it, so I'm not going to take away. This is, you know what I'm saying?
No, no, you take it, Anguish, because I'm gonna be busy.